Chapter 702. At this moment, in the history of the profound sky continent, the 9 domains had become one domain and completed the first complete unification. All the cultivators and experts had submitted to the Tianma cult and pledged their allegiance to the Tianma cult. Although Ning Tian would bring the Tianma cult into the divine domain in a few weeks, he would only take away the Tianma cult's old friends. On the other hand, the elites of the 9 domains who had just joined the heavenly demon cult would become the fresh blood of the 9 domains' heavenly demon cult. They would push the 9 domains' heavenly demon cult's development in the future, and even after countless years, the 9 domains would still only have one faction, and that was the Tianma cult. In the sky, a beautiful figure in blue and white stood in the void. Flames rose around her, and her cold face was full of majesty. She looked down at the people below indifferently. Her cold gaze and unparalleled aura made the strong cultivators of the 9 regions tremble. In the sky above was the Empress, a high and mighty goddess. Wuching, everything is done. At this moment, a seductive voice sounded, and the beautiful figure of a fox demon appeared. When they saw Su Yueyao, a trace of fear appeared in the hearts of the experts of the 9 regions. This incomparably beautiful fox demon was someone they couldn't afford to provoke. She seemed endlessly charming, but her methods were incomparably cold-blooded. These 2 women were both amazing. Yes, according to my husband, as long as we place one ancestral statue in each of the 9 domains, the disloyalty of the experts of the 9 domains will vanish under the influence of faith over a long period of time. When the time comes, the Tianma cult will become the true Tianma cult. Luo Wuching nodded slightly. He raised his ice-blue eyes and looked not far away. After unifying the 9 domains, the 9 domains had 9 ancestral statues. According to Ning Tian, the ancestral statues contained a large amount of faith power that would make the 9 domains submit. There was no need to worry about disloyalty. Let's go. Aunt Luo is already waiting for us, Su Yueyao said softly. After unifying the 9 domains, the 2 women would follow Luo Wei and start cultivating. Luo Wuching looked in the direction of the firmament territory again and nodded. God territory. Eastern Prison Starfield. In ancient god Yuan-Tu's lair, several heaven-ranked ancient gods looked at the scene before them with grave expressions. The scene before them flickered continuously, alternating between black and white. In fact, he could even see a few bubbles. Old Ancestor Ming was killed by the lightning tribulation just like that? What method did the Heavenly Palace Patriarch use to make all the lightning strike Old Ancestor Ming? I really didn't expect that the Buddha's Devil Pagoda that we were painstakingly searching for would actually be taken away by the Heavenly Palace's ancestral master. On the surface, the Heavenly Palace doesn't interfere and only protects the talisman, but they are doing this behind the scenes. The ancient gods had solemn expressions as they spoke in deep voices. What they were watching now was Patriarch Nether's death replay. Buddha Demon Pagoda. I'm afraid it's not just the Buddha Demon Pagoda, the Heavenly Palace Patriarch. In the center of the hall, the ancient god frowned as he looked at the scene, which was fixed on the black-robed Ning Tian. He is the last person to step onto the ancient road to godhood. Perhaps the heart item is also with him. The heart item? Upon hearing this, the ancient gods of the ancient god cloud chart were stunned for a moment before they suddenly came to their senses. Back then, they had placed their hearts on the ancient road to godhood precisely so that they could use the blood of the 9 regions Tao Vindicators to activate them. However, just as the heart item was about to be activated, it was swapped with the heart of a sea beast. Now that the Buddha Demon Pagoda had appeared on the Heavenly Palace Patriarch, who was the last cultivator to step onto the ancient road to godhood, he was most likely to come into contact with the heart item. The Heavenly Palace. A cold glint flashed in the ancient god's eyes. Lord Ancient God, what should we do now? The surrounding ancient gods looked over with puzzled eyes. For the ancient god Yuan-Tu, they had tried for millions of years and had finally found the 2 crucial items with great difficulty. But now, they were in the hands of someone else. Wouldn't this mean that they had wasted all their efforts? After a moment of silence, the ancient god slowly said, if we go to the 9 domains now, we will most likely attract the attention of the heavenly palace. When he returns and the Tianma cult stands tall in the divine realm, it will be time for us to make our move. Yes, Lord Ancient God. The surrounding ancient gods nodded. After the ancient gods dispersed, the ancient god turned around and looked in a direction. There, a black-clothed figure appeared. He hurriedly bowed and said, "Greetings, Lord Evil God." The black-clothed youth had a grave and stern expression. Hidden under his cloak, he waved his hand and said nothing. "Lord Evil God, are you able to break free from the seal? You are an innate ancient god. Surely you can." The ancient god's tone was somewhat anxious. "Ancient god, are you doubting me?" When the ancient god finished speaking, the black-clothed youth's voice suddenly became cold and emotionless. "No, I wouldn't dare." The ancient god's body trembled and he hurriedly shook his head. "You may leave." The black-clothed youth's indifferent voice sounded. Yes. Hearing this, the ancient god hurriedly retreated step by step until he left the hall. Only the black-clothed youth remained in the hall, sitting alone on the throne. He looked very lonely. However, upon closer inspection, it did not seem to be a physical body. It was as if it was the incarnation of some kind of energy. Dozens of days had passed. It was already 1 month away from the agreed time. Firmament territory, endless sea domain. Rumble. The originally calm sea surface became turbulent again. A black-clothed figure rushed out of the sea, his aura causing a large amount of water around him to scatter. "Phew, I have finally consolidated my strength." Ning Tian let out a long sigh of relief. His eyes shone brightly. After going through the tribulation and consolidating his strength, he was now an 8-star supreme ancient god. Even if he did not use the power of the tribulation lightning, ordinary chaotic ancient gods would not be his match. "Ancestral Master? Ancestral Master, you have finally come out. Are you coming to eat?" Sea Beast Feast. At this moment, the mountain-like nether black tortoise happened to look over. It had quite a few sea beasts in its mouth and was eating happily. Ever since the lightning tribulation descended from the sky, there was a sea beast that died peacefully on the surface of the sea. It was a good treat to eat. Sea Beast Feast? Ning Tian raised his eyebrows and looked indifferently at the peaceful sea beasts around him. However, when his gaze fell on the nether black tortoise, he frowned slightly. "Nether, your body? Has it become smaller?" At this moment, the nether black tortoise's body was smaller than before. However, it was much stronger than before. Even its aura had increased. Smaller? The nether black tortoise was stunned for a moment. Then, it took a bite of the sea beast meat and said casually, "Nothing. I was just struck by a few lightning tribulations. Perhaps after being struck by lightning tribulations, I became as thin as lightning." Chapter 703. The Ancestral Master was speechless. The nether black tortoise must have changed because the power of the thunder calamity had triggered some kind of seal in its body. When they met the nether black tortoise, its strength should have been at the demigod realm, but it was obvious that its original strength was much higher. It was likely that its strength had been sealed, and the purpose was to make it easier for it to stay here. "Nether black tortoise, continue to guard this place. In the future, I may come to find you." Ning Tian looked calmly at the nether black tortoise and said softly. Even if he wanted to take the nether black tortoise away, it would be impossible. After all, the nether black tortoise had 2 duties. Guarding the place where it was sealed was only one of them. "Yes, Ancestral Master." The nether black tortoise nodded. It had no reaction to this. Obviously, it was already used to it. Tianling Domain. The land of God's fall calamity. Several figures were waiting there. "Why isn't this brat done yet?" Qin Luo cursed and looked at the sky from time to time. "Just wait patiently. Little Ning should be here soon. Don't always bully little Ning. You're his father-in-law after all." Luo Wei rolled her eyes at Qin Luo before speaking in a gentle voice. I bully that brat?" Hearing this, Qin Luo felt wronged. How would I dare to bully that great god? It was clearly that brat who bullied me. If it were someone else who said this, Qin Luo would have cursed the person to death. Unfortunately, It was Luo Wei who said this, so the cursing god had gone offline. Seeing Qin Luo's wrong look, the two women could not help but chuckle. At this moment, Luo Wuqing and Su Yueyao's auras were very different from before. Their auras had risen by several levels, and the auras they exuded were very mysterious. They had probably already broken through the ancient god realm. After all, before they were taken away by Luo Wei, their strength was already infinitely close to that of a supreme ancient god. Now we just need to wait for my husband to return from the firmament territory. Then we can take the Tianma cult to the deity domain. Luo Wuqing then looked at Luo Wei and asked softly, "Mother, do you want to go back to the fire domain? Grandpa must be missing you." Hearing this, the gazes of everyone present landed on Luo Wei. Although Qin Luo needed to stay here to guard the seal, Luo Wei did not need to do so. With the existence of the projection of the Ning Tian tree, there was no need for her to activate the flames and deal with the chaotic aura. No need. Luo Wei was stunned for a moment before she shook her head and said to Luo Wuqing, "Help me say hello to your grandfather. I'm worried about leaving old Qin here alone. I'd better continue accompanying her." "Yes. All right." Hearing this, Luo Wuqing didn't insist anymore. Hearing this, Qin Luo was touched. Sigh. His wife was still the best. At this moment, in the sky, the void fluctuated, and a black-robed figure appeared. "Wife, sorry to keep you waiting." Ning Tian took a step out of the void and smiled at the two women. When he felt the powerful aura from the two women, he was stunned for a moment before the corners of his mouth curled up. It seemed that the two women's abilities had increased quite a bit. "How is it, little Ning? Their abilities have now reached the level of a 5-star supreme ancient god. Are you satisfied? In this case, they can protect you. How can the women of the Luo family hide behind a man?" Luo Wei said with a smile. 5-star supreme ancient god? Hearing this, Ning Tian couldn't help but feel happy. In this case, the two women's abilities weren't too far apart. "Protect this boy? I'm afraid it's a little difficult." Qin Luo snorted and said angrily, before he left the heavenly spirit region. This boy had already passed the ancient god Thunder Calamity. At that time, he had probably reached the level of a 5-star supreme ancient god. This stinky boy went to the raging sea. I'm afraid his abilities have increased quite a bit. After all, this stinky boy has the infuriating trait of becoming stronger inexplicably after disappearing for a period of time. Qin Luo pursed his lips. Hearing this, Wu Qing and Yu Yao nodded with deep feelings. Their husband's starting point had been lower than theirs, but his abilities had increased much faster than theirs. Oh, how strong is little Ning now? However, Luo Wei didn't know about this trait. She asked very innocently and curiously. "I have already passed 8 tribulations." Ning Tian said honestly. 8? 8 tribulations? The gentle smile on Luo Wei's face froze. She had put in a lot of effort to raise Wu Qing and Yu Yao's abilities to that of a 5-star supreme ancient god within a month. You broke through to 8 stars in a month? Although, after reaching the ancient god realm, one's abilities didn't increase through continuous accumulation like before. Instead, it was through passing the Thunder Calamity. Although the method of breaking through from accumulation to passing the Thunder Calamity seemed simple, the power of the Thunder Calamity was boundless. Even an ancient god could be turned into ashes by the Thunder Calamity if he wasn't careful. During this period of time, when she was protecting the two women, she had been struck into an afro several times. However, little Ning passed 8 tribulations in one go. "Mother, don't be surprised. After all, this is extremely normal for my husband." Luo Wuqing, who had witnessed how Ning Tian ignored the Thunder Calamity step by step, shook his head at Luo Wei. When her husband passed the Thunder Calamity, the one who suffered was not her husband, but the buildings of the Tianma cult. It had always been like this. "Yes, mother, Wu Qing is right. Don't be surprised." Ning Tian casually echoed his wife's words. However, he soon realized that something was wrong. Damn, if my mother-in-law isn't surprised, where did the reward come from? My good wife. Anyway, mother, don't worry. Things are different now. Now, it's my turn to stand in front of them. No matter what, I won't let any harm come to them. Absolutely. Ning Tian held the two women's hands and said calmly. However, his words were unshakable in his heart. He could give up his empire, but he needed the beauties. This was because the empire was ruthless, but people had feelings. Step by step, the two women had accompanied him. Okay. Luo Wei smiled gently and nodded. Haha, brat, you're sensible. If you dare to hurt my precious daughter, even if I can't beat you, I'll scold you to death. At the side, Qin Luo cursed. He was very self-aware. However, Ning Tian ignored Qin Luo and took out several items. Mother, we met in a hurry last time and didn't prepare a gift. Coincidentally, I just went to the endless sea. This is the best deep-sea divine oyster. It can be said to be a great tonic for female cultivators. Of course, you have one too. As he spoke, Ning Tian handed the items in his hands to the three women. Chapter 704. At the side, Qin Luo looked on eagerly, hinting at Ning Tian with all sorts of eyes. Seeing that Ning Tian did not say anything, he could not help but roll his eyes and say directly, Brat, where's my gift? No. Ning Tian spread out his hands. F***CK. So F***King Heartless. I'm afraid I'm the most miserable father-in-law in the Tianqin world, right? Qin Luo cursed. No. According to historical records, a father-in-law died in the hands of a son-in-law. That should be the most miserable. Luo Wuqing shook his head and said seriously. Qin Luo, I'm so filial. All right, it's about time. Wife, we should go. Ning Tian said to the two girls, then looked at Qin Luo and said with a smile, Dad, when you come out, I'll treat you to a drink. You brat, why do you say it like I'm in jail? Qin Luo sent a few question marks, then the corner of his mouth raised, and immediately poured out a stomach full of evil tricks. All right, brat, hurry up and get lost. Otherwise, I won't be able to take the matter of you flirting with the fish-headed sister a million years ago. Hearing this, Ning Tian was stunned for a moment and slowly sent out a question mark. Before he could say anything, he had already sensed that two cold eyes fell on him. F***CK. This father-in-law is inhumane. Ning Tian exclaimed in his heart. Looking at the smile on Qin Luo's face, Ning Tian's mouth twitched. Then he revealed a smile and looked at Qin Luo. Oh, is that so? Why do I remember that it was you who flirted with the fish-headed Annie first? Oh, by the way, Dad, have you found your rich wife? In an instant, the smile on Qin Luo's face froze. He swallowed his saliva and revealed a forced smile. He looked at Luo Wei, whose face had completely darkened. Weier, I said, this is Ning Tian's nonsense. Do you believe it? Damn it. He had forgotten about the shamelessness of this stinking brat. He would definitely drag him down with him. Rich woman? Fish-headed auntie? Good for you, old Qin. Luo Wei's expression immediately turned cold. It turned out that even a gentle mother-in-law could be so irritable. AI. It's really tragic. Ning Tian clicked his tongue and sighed. Little did he know that danger was quietly approaching. It was only when the two jade-like hands fell on his waist that he regretted it. Oh, Sister Fishhead? The two women looked at Ning Tian kindly, and a smile appeared on their faces. They were so beautiful that Ning Tian almost cried. Ah. Two cries of agony echoed in the surroundings. 10 minutes later, Tianma cult. Ancestral Master, where did you make these pig ears? It's quite realistic. Zhu Yuanbo bit on the barbecued horsewhip and hugged a bowl of horse broth. When he saw Ning Tian and the others walking over, he couldn't help but feel puzzled. Cough. My wife made it herself. What do you think? Are you envious? Ning Tian coughed dryly. His ears had already turned red, and he looked extremely proud. Ancestral Master, are you sure the Empress and the others didn't teach you a lesson? Zhu Yuanbo originally wanted to tell the truth, but after Luo Wuqing and Su Yueyao glared at him, he was so scared that he trembled and ran away. Crazy protectors were really scary. They could allow Ning Tian to embarrass himself in front of them, but they wouldn't allow others to mock Ning Tian. Husband, I've gathered everyone in the Tianma cult. Let's prepare to leave the 9 regions. Luo Wuqing looked at Ning Tian and said softly, "Okay." Ning Tian nodded slightly and was about to rub his red pig ears. However, a pair of jade-like hands beat him to it. He turned his head and saw Sui Weiyao winking at him. Ning Tian was touched and burrowed into his little wife's arms to seek comfort. A few minutes later, in the Tianma cult square, Ning Tian looked at these familiar figures and smiled slightly. He looked at the crowd and chuckled. Everyone, although the Tianma cult story in the 9 regions has come to an end for the time being, the realm of the gods still has room for you to display your talents. Let the gods of the realm of the gods witness the power of the Tianma cult. Gods, hearing this, the eyes of the Tianma cult members shone brightly. They could already see the image of the Tianma cult resounding throughout the realm of the gods under the leadership of their ancestral master. Everyone, get ready to enter the space door. Ning Tian waved his hand and directly operated the power of space. A portal several meters in size with flowing space energy appeared in the sky. Then, Ning Tian's palm shook slightly toward the portal. Boom, boom, boom. In the blink of an eye, the portal, which was originally several meters in size, was shrouded by a dense space energy. At this moment, it kept expanding and smashed heavily into the Tianma cult square. Everyone, behind this portal is the realm of the gods. Ning Tian stood on top of the spatial gate, and the 2 women landed beside him. He looked down at the people below him and spoke calmly. Everyone, let's go. Yes, ancestral master. Haha, I wonder how the horses of the realm of the gods taste? Zhu Yuanbo laughed loudly. Beside him, Yuqin also smiled foolishly and said, Horse lover Yuqin requests to go out and fight. With the 2 of them taking the lead, a group of people followed closely behind. Everyone was full of yearning for the realm of the gods. The Tianma cult members charged toward the place all cultivators yearned for. Dozens of minutes later, when all the Tianma cult members stepped into the portal, Ning Tian took one last look at everything familiar and frowned slightly. After this farewell, he didn't know when he would return. Wife, let's go too. His voice faded. The 3 of them also stepped into the portal. Boom. After a burst of rich spatial energy, the portal slowly closed and dissipated from this world. At this point, the Tianma cult of the 9 regions would be a brand new Tianma cult without any old friends. But their faith, it was still that man, the legendary ancestral master, the realm of the gods, Sky Devil territory. In the sky, the void fluctuated, and a huge portal appeared in this world. As the portal slowly opened, a new world appeared in front of the Grand Elder and the others. Here, the spiritual energy was countless times richer than that of the 9 regions. Everyone, this is the realm of the gods, and this is the Sky Devil territory. Ning Tian looked at the heavenly demon cult members indifferently. Her calm words caused the Grand Elder and the others to be extremely agitated. In their lifetime, they actually came to the realm of the gods. Swoosh. At this time, the sound of something breaking through the air rang out. Fatty Chin and the others appeared in the sky with a powerful aura, heading toward the crowd. Ancestral Master, could they be the Tianma cult of the realm of the gods? The Grand Elder couldn't help but ask when he saw this scene. That's right, Ning Tian said indifferently. Sure enough, the ancient records are correct. The Tianma cult was founded in the realm of the gods. Hearing Ning Tian's confirmation, the Grand Elder burst into tears and was extremely excited. This was simply a testimony to history. Although the Tianma cult is divided into the realm of the gods and the 9 regions, but only the combination of the 2 can be the real Tianma cult. Neither can be missing. Ning Tian looked at the crowd indifferently. Amidst the reverence of the crowd, he said to Fatty Chin, Fatty Chin, announce to the realm of the gods. In 3 days, the Tianma cult will reappear in the realm of the gods. Author's words. Report the progress of this book. Finish it this month. Chapter 705. Inform the God Realm. Let the gods of the God Realm know that the Tianma cult will reappear in the God Realm in 3 days. Ning Tian's voice was very calm, but it was full of confidence. It echoed in the sky and rang in everyone's ears. In an instant, whether it was the heavenly demon cult from the realm of the gods or the Nine Domains' heavenly demon cult, everyone was excited. They looked at Ning Tian as if they were looking at a god. In their eyes, it was as if their ancestor was glowing and would lead them to the end of the world. Yes, Patriarch. Hearing Ning Tian's words, Fatty Chin's fat body trembled. One could imagine how excited he was. He had been looking forward to the moment when the Tianma cult returned to the god realm. And now, with the return of the Patriarch, he was afraid that he would once again complete the unfinished business. Little Feng, little Qin, if your souls in heaven could see this scene, they would be very gratified. Fatty Chin's lips curled into a bitter smile, and a trace of tears flashed in his eyes. Everyone, prepare yourselves. The god realm will be the era of the Tianma cult. The corners of Ning Tian's mouth lifted slightly, full of confidence. The era of the Tianma cult. Everyone was shocked. They all raised their heads and looked at the dazzling figure like a god. Instead of saying, it was the era of the Tianma cult, it was better to say, it was the era of the Patriarch. You have shocked everyone in the Tianma cult. Reward: the Peerless Genius Halo Array. Function: activate this array to set up a cultivation array in the Sky Demon territory. The Tianma cult disciples in the array will obtain 1% of the host's cultivation speed. While everyone was secretly shocked, in his mind, the system's voice sounded. 1% of my cultivation speed? Ning Tian raised his eyebrows slightly. Even if it was 1% of his cultivation speed now, it was far superior to many peerless geniuses. This was a cultivation opportunity for the Grand Supreme Elder and the others who had just entered the God realm. It was a good opportunity to quickly improve their overall strength. With a wave of his hand, he planted the formation in the ground of the Sky Devil region. Let's wait for 3 days. Ning Tian chuckled. Below, Zhu Yuanbua and Yu Qin looked at the mystical horses not far away and swallowed their saliva. They thought that the Patriarch had specially prepared this for them, so they subconsciously blurted out the mantra, "Ancestral Master is awesome, forever a god." The others didn't know what was going on at all. When they heard this sentence, they subconsciously shouted, "Ancestral Master is awesome, forever a god. It is our duty to restore the glory of the Tianma cult." The entire Sky Demon region was filled with the Ancestral Master's praises. Ning Tian held the two women's hands and watched this scene calmly. He looked at Luo Wuqing and said slowly, "Dear, there must be some dirty things in the fire domain. Go to the fire domain in the next 3 days and find them." The news of the land of divine fall tribulation had been leaked. Qin Luo also asserted that there must be some dirty things in the fire domain. "Yes, I understand." Luo Wuqing nodded slightly, a cold light flashing in her beautiful eyes. In the blink of an eye, when the important news that the Tianma cult would reappear in the God region in 3 days' time spread, many people were puzzled. Many of the powerful forces in the God region were also stunned when they heard the news. In God's domain, it was normal for forces to be born. Every day, forces would be born, and every day, forces would fall. This wasn't strange. However, it was rare to announce to the God region and the gods that the Tianma cult would reappear. This was undoubtedly a provocation. But when they learned that the Celestial Palace's ancestral master was behind the Tianma cult, their expressions turned grave. If the Celestial Palace's ancestral master had reappeared in the Tianma cult, could it be that the Celestial Palace's shadow was also involved? All of a sudden, the various forces in the God region, who had been indifferent to the news, had to treat it seriously. Who knew what changes the Tianma cult's reappearance would bring to the God region? However, some of the older ones who had been in the God region for a long time fell silent. Perhaps other people did not know, but they knew what the 3 words Heavenly Devil Cult meant. Millions of years ago, the cursing god and the current strongest person in the Southern Frost Star Sea, the Ice God, were both members of the Heavenly Devil Cult. The Tianma cult had been so powerful a million years ago that it had almost appeared in front of the entire God region. But they, strangely, they had disappeared at the peak of their power. Now they had reappeared. A million years had passed. The Celestial Palace's ancestral master hadn't mentioned the Tianma cult. Instead, the reappearance of the Tianma cult. In other words, this Tianma cult was closely related to the Tianma cult of millions of years ago. In an instant, many of the older ones in the God region became nervous. In the blink of an eye, 3 days and nights had passed in the God region. Because of the reappearance of the Tianma cult, the undercurrents were surging in the God region. Many forces and experts had their own thoughts. The celestial demon region. After 3 days of locking Sha Tian in a cage and ensuring that the disassembly formula wouldn't appear, the entire celestial demon region was no longer as desolate as before. Buildings rose from the ground. The current Tianma cult was built in the style of the 2 major sects in the God region and the 9 territories. It had everything that should be there. In fact, Ning Tian had even built a small room for the Grand Supreme Elder to store the Imperial Maid painting. It was obvious at first glance that he was serious. After all, he was the ancestral master. He loved to help others. At this moment, there were already many people in the main hall of the Tianma cult. Ancestral master, 3 days have passed. Fatty Chin looked at the high seat in the main hall and said slowly to Ning Tian. Ning Tian nodded slightly, looked at the people around him, and said indifferently, "Everyone, are you ready?" "Yes, we're ready." Hearing this, the people around were extremely excited. The glory of the Tianma cult would be completely lit up today. At this moment, outside the celestial demon region, there were already countless powerful auras. These were all forces that had rushed over. They all landed outside the celestial demon region and didn't dare to set foot here. After all, the ancestral master had only announced to the God region that the Tianma cult would reappear in the God region. He didn't say that he would invite the world to a banquet. To Ning Tian, they might not be qualified to step into the celestial demon region yet. Outside the celestial demon region, countless forces and experts were hiding in the dark. They all wanted to see how capable the Tianma cult was to announce to the God region and the gods in such an arrogant way. Boom! At this moment, in the celestial demon region, spiritual energy suddenly surged, and countless powerful figures rose into the air. The Tianma cult actually has so many experts above the God realm, and basically all of them are God realm experts. When they saw these thousands of figures, countless forces outside the celestial demon region instantly widened their eyes. These thousands of God realm experts were enough to prove the foundation of the Tianma cult. There were many God realm experts in the God region. However, there were many forces in the God region. Even the top forces didn't have more than a few hundred, let alone all of them in the God realm. Chapter 706. Hiss. In an instant, when many figures appeared in the Sky Demon region, many of the elites outside the region inhaled sharply, a look of deep shock flashing in their eyes. The Sky Demon cult that had appeared out of nowhere. It was too terrifying. However, some of the old immortals in the God domain were secretly shocked. These figures, weren't they the Tianma cult from 1,000,000 years ago? They were heavenly gods. Heavenly gods were not scary. What was scary was that they had lived for millions of years with the strength of a heavenly god. The Tianma cult, what had happened? Boom. Rumble. At this moment, a formation slowly appeared in the Sky Demon realm. A powerful suction force instantly sucked in a large amount of spiritual chi from all around the realm. Many experts outside the realm were affected. They were all stunned, and their faces were filled with confusion. What was the Tianma cult trying to do? What a powerful formation. No, it's not just powerful. It's domineering. The surrounding spiritual chi is barren. Outside the Sky Demon realm, a white-haired old man looked ahead with a serious expression. He couldn't help but sigh. Old man Tianzong, I didn't expect you to admire this formation. A rough voice rang out. A muscular man couldn't help but look over. Alliance Masterly, you must be joking. There are too many people in the God domain who are better at formations than me. The old man named Tianzong sighed and looked over with a wry smile. Haha. Alliance Masterly laughed. Then, his gaze fell on the buildings in the Sky Demon realm. The smile on his face gradually disappeared, replaced by a serious expression. Old man Tianzong, what do you think? the Tiamat cult's appearance will do to the god domain? This, I don't know either. Old man Tianzong fell silent, then shook his head. Both of them were leaders of top forces in the Western Wilderness Starfield. When they heard about the Tiamat cult's appearance, they came here to find out what was going on. Around here, I'm afraid quite a few old fellows have come. This Tiamat cult is not simple. Alliance chiefly narrowed his eyes and looked around. Beside him, old man Tianzong was silent. At that moment, outside the Sky Devil region, all the experts, whether they were in the open or in the dark, were looking inside the Sky Devil region. As the formation appeared, a figure appeared in their line of sight. That is the Patriarch of the Heavenly Palace. Everyone was gathered in the Tiamat cult square. Ning Tian, dressed in black, stood on the head of the Patriarch statue, looking at everyone in the Tiamat cult. Looks like many forces have already arrived outside the Sky Devil region. The corners of Ning Tian's mouth lifted slightly as a glint flashed in his eyes. He had already sensed the commotion outside, but he didn't pay it any attention. His gaze fell on the Tiamat cult members. Everyone. Ning Tian's voice came from above, resounding throughout the Sky Devil region. Fatty Qin, the Supreme Elder, Zhu Yuanbua, and Ihongyi, and the others all looked at Ning Tian. Not only the Tiamat cult, but all the major forces outside the Sky Devil region also looked at Ning Tian. Under the eyes of everyone, Ning Tian, dressed in black, had a cold expression. Everyone looked at him, and he looked at them as well. He said calmly, "The light that the Tiamat cult did not gather 1,000,000 years ago will be made up for in my hands today. Set. Buxu Pavilion. Old Ancestor Taishu will be the Pavilion Master. Set. Wanxiang Pavilion. Ditian will be the Pavilion Master. Set. Misty Pavilion. And Ihongyi will be the Pavilion Master. Set. Fox Demon Valley. Tian Mei will be the Valley Master. Set. Horse Stealing Tower. Yuqin will be the Tower Master." Ning Tian's sonorous and powerful voice resounded throughout the Sky Devil region, and Ihongyi, Ditian, and the rest had complicated expressions on their faces when they heard this. Even though their faction was gone, it was not completely gone. At the very least, they would be able to pass down their legacy under the protection of the Heavenly Demon Cult. As for the Jade Lake Sacred Ground, Ning Tian did not belong to the Tiamat cult. Instead, he built the Jade Lake Sacred Ground in the Sky Devil region and let Su Yueao regain the power of the Sacred Lord. Below, countless Tiamat cult disciples were excited when they heard this. But this horse-stealing tower, what the hell was it? The rise of the Tiamat cult is inevitable. If there are obstacles, I will get rid of them. If there are obstacles, I will break them. Ning Tian's voice rang out again. His gaze inadvertently glanced outside the Sky Demon region. In an instant, the faces of many experts outside the Sky Demon region sank. Their eyes were gloomy. Ancestor is awesome. Eternal God. Hearing the Ancestor's words, the Tiamat cult disciples below all looked serious. They excitedly shouted the 8 words that belonged only to them. The momentum was great, and it resounded in all directions. This guy, outside the Sky Demon region, many experts from various factions had gloomy expressions as a glint flashed across their eyes. Every word and action of the Sky Demon cult's founder was basically warning them not to have any bad intentions. If they did, he would dare to get rid of them. Ancestor, all the positions in the Tiamat cult have been confirmed, but the position of the cult master, the Supreme Elder walked over and looked at Ning Tian questioningly. At this moment, everyone's eyes also fell on him. Cult master? Ning Tian chuckled. Hasn't your cult master always been alone? She's here. As soon as his voice fell, Ning Tian looked outside the Sky Devil region. Boom. The sound of something breaking through the air rang out. Haha, little Ning, I didn't expect your momentum to be so great. At this moment, Shengyang God's voice rang out. A large group of experts from the fire domain appeared. Among them was a red-haired old man with flames burning all over his body. It's the fire domain. It's said that Shengyang God has already stepped into the ancient God realm. Now, even the Burning Sky Ancestor is here. The Burning Sky Ancestor is still alive. No wonder the fire domain can last for so long. Seeing the large group of experts from the fire domain, many experts outside the Sky Devil region gasped. When they saw the red-haired old man, their eyes became even more serious. That person was most likely an ancient god sovereign. More experts are here. Monster god region, precept region. I didn't expect reincarnation Tao god to really come back and break through to the ancient god realm. Even the nine-tailed celestial fox has broken through to the ancient god realm. These are all Tiamat cult's allies? Don't forget, the Celestial Palace's ancestor is also an ancient god expert. Besides, the truly terrifying one is the Celestial Palace. The Celestial Palace hasn't arrived yet. At this moment, when Old Man Dao and the others appeared, the experts outside the Sky Devil region finally realized the true terror of the Tiamat cult. Not only was the Celestial Palace strong, but its allies were also the best. The rise of the Tianma cult was probably unstoppable. The Tianma cult of the God region, it's really terrifying. Outside the Sky Devil region, the experts from the various forces were smiling bitterly. Chapter 707. Little Ning were late. Dao God reincarnation and the others landed in the Tianma cult. It's okay. Ning Tian waved his hand, and then looked at the red-haired old man in the fire domain. He narrowed his eyes slightly. He must be the pillar of the fire domain, Ancestor Fentian. Greetings, Ancestral Master. However, before Ning Tian took the initiative to greet him, Ancestor Fentian walked over excitedly and bowed to Ning Tian. Ning Tian raised his eyebrows. He was sure that this was the first time he had seen this old man. Ancestral Master, don't be surprised. I was born because of Qin Luo. Qin Luo once mentioned Ancestral Master to me. Now that I see you, Ancestral Master is indeed extraordinary. Ancestor Fentian chuckled and communicated with Ning Tian through divine consciousness. Oh! Hearing this, Ning Tian had a strange look on his face. This, Qin Luo had a close relationship with Ancestor Fentian. He thought he was ruthless enough to become brothers with Qin Luo and then abduct his daughter. However, Qin Luo was even more ruthless to become brothers with Ancestor Fentian and abduct his descendant's daughter. He was indeed his father-in-law. Apparently, God Shengyang didn't know about the relationship between Qin Luo and Ancestor Fentian. Qin Luo, this old bull, really knew how to pick young grass. Who was this? Ning Tian looked at the person beside Ancestor Fentian. It was a young man who was holding a flame. Judging by his strength, he was probably a one-star supreme ancient god. My disciple, Yin Qing. Ancestor Fentian said, Greetings, Ancestral Master. Yin Qing bowed slightly. Ning Tian signaled with his eyes and then pulled Luo Wuqing over and asked in a low voice, Wife, have you caught the ghost of the fire domain? Hearing this, Luo Wuqing shook her head. There was no progress in the past 3 days. Is that so? Ning Tian frowned slightly. Forget it. Let's deal with the things here first, then I'll come personally. Okay. Luo Wuqing nodded obediently. Everyone. I think, the leader of the Tianma cult, there's no need for me to say more, right? Ning Tian pulled Luo Wuqing over. The two of them stood on the statue of the patriarch. Under the gazes of tens of thousands of people, he slowly opened his mouth. Below, the crowd did not hesitate at all, their eyes blazing. Greetings, Empress. We disciples of the otherworldly demons pay our respects to the Empress. Greetings, Empress. Their voices were like waves, one after another, from beginning to end. Starting from the Tianma cult of the 9 regions, Luo Wuqing was the leader of the Tianmo cult and the Empress of the Tianmo cult. Under her leadership, the Tianma cult had developed like never before. In fact, when Ning Tian had left the Sky Spirit realm, the Tianjin cult had developed even faster. If the Ancestral Master was the one who protected the Tianma cult, then Luo Wuqing would be the one who raised the Tianmo cult to its own height. Qin Fadi and the other members of the Tianmo cult had no objections. After all, Luo Wuqing was not only Qin Luo's daughter, but also the wife of the Ancestral Master. Regardless of this, Luo Wuqing was extremely suitable in terms of strength and other aspects. The Empress of the Tianma cult was fully deserving of the title. On the stone statue, Luo Wuqing's pretty face was cold as she looked at the crowd. Although she did not say a word, everyone could feel the Empress's aura. "What about you, Ancestral Master?" Zhu Yuanbua asked vaguely as he bit into the horse meat. "Are you stupid?" According to the 180 rules of the Ancestral Master, the Ancestral Master is definitely the Ancestral Master. Beside him, hearing Zhu Yuanbua's question, Old Su could not help but roll his eyes at him. The Ancestral Master is the Ancestral Master. Hearing this, everyone's eyes shone brightly. Just as Old Su said, "I am the Ancestral Master. In the past, in the present, and in the future, I am the Ancestral Master." Ning Tian stepped on the statue of the Ancestral Master and smiled. His black robes fluttered in the wind. From the beginning, he was the Ancestral Master of the Tianma cult. Whether now or in the future, the name of the Ancestral Master of the Tianma cult would resound throughout the entire Tianqian world and live on in the long history of the Tianqian world. At this moment, in the Tianma area, there was complete silence. No one dared to breathe too loudly. In the outside world, the leaders of the various forces looked solemn. When they heard Ning Tian's words, they were speechless. If it had been someone else, they would have mocked him mercilessly, mocked him for overestimating himself and for being reckless. But, looking at the black-robed youth, they could not stifle a single word. It was as if the black-robed youth had infinite magic that forced them to believe that he could do it. Today, the Tianma cult had reappeared in the God domain and stunned many forces. Time passed bit by bit. The heavenly palace that everyone was looking forward to did not appear. Is no one from the heavenly palace coming? Saint Sun God frowned slightly. Tao God Reincarnation and the others also looked a little pale. Logically speaking, if Ning Tian had reappeared in the Tianma area, it was impossible that no one from the heavenly palace would not come to celebrate. "I'm afraid something must have happened," Ning Tian said in a low voice. When they went to the 9 regions that day, Yishuang had said that they might not see each other for a long time. The only thing that could trouble the 9 primes of the heavenly palace could only be the seal under the heavenly palace. Of the 4 seals, the most unstable was the blood-stained yellow sand under the heavenly palace. "After I deal with this, I will go to the heavenly palace," Ning Tian said with a frown. "Yes, my husband. Yueyao and I will stay in the Tianma area." Luo Wuqing nodded slightly. Fortunately, the strength of the 2 women had improved. Even if Ning Tian left the Tianma cult, the 2 of them could still guard this place. Boom. Suddenly, at this moment, a huge attack appeared in the sky above the Tianma area without warning. Then, with a terrifying speed, it blasted toward the ordinary disciples of the Tianma cult. What? This sudden attack instantly caused everyone's expression to change. The power of this attack was probably close to the power of an ancient god. "Impudent!" A cold shout rang out. Then, a sacred flame appeared out of thin air and instantly enveloped the attack that blasted toward the disciples of the Tianma cult. The terrifying temperature melted the attack in an instant. "Humph!" In the sky, Luo Wuqing snorted coldly. The sacred flame on his lily-white hand slowly dissipated. "Phew, we're saved." Below, the group of Tianma cult disciples heaved heavy sighs of relief. The Tianma cult should have disappeared a million years ago. Why would it reappear now? Forget it. This kind of thing doesn't matter. However, I would like to ask the patriarch of the Tianma cult to return 2 things. In the sky, a sinister voice rang out, instantly attracting everyone's attention. Is someone going to attack the Tianma cult? Hearing this voice, outside of the Sky Demon region, many experts from various factions looked at the sky with grave expressions. Although there was no one in the sky, the terrifying aura had already enveloped everyone. Who can attack the Tianma cult at this time? I'm afraid it can only be that power. Old man Tian Zhang's eyes were grave. If one looked carefully, they would see that his lips were trembling. Chapter 708. That faction. When Alliance Masterly heard this, his expression turned grave. His body trembled slightly. It was obvious that he was extremely afraid of that faction. That's right. In the entire deity plane, only the ancient god Yun-Tu can attack the Tianma cult at this time. Old man Tianzong let out a heavy sigh. His eyes were filled with seriousness. Even though he and Alliance Masterly were the top factions in the Western Wilderness Starfield, they were still vulnerable in front of the ancient god Yun-Tu's day. The real terror of the ancient god Yun-Tu was in the dark. Moreover, he had a million-year foundation. No one knew if the person next to them was from the ancient god Yun-Tu. So, that was why the factions in the deity plane were so afraid of the ancient god Yun-Tu. Oh, your things? The black-clothed Ning Tian involuntarily lifted the corners of his mouth when he heard the sinister words in the sky. He revealed an indifferent smile as he looked towards a certain spot in the sky. There was a strong fluctuation in the space there. Since you want your things, why are you always hiding in the dark? Ning Tian chuckled and looked in that direction. When he finished speaking, the power of space and divine consciousness surged at the same time. It was as if they had turned into a giant hand and slammed into that space. Boom. Bang bang. In an instant, the space in the sky collapsed as if it had suffered a heavy blow. The sound of several people vomiting blood could be heard from that place. The ancient god Yun-Tu's people are there. The patriarch of the Tianma cult knows where they are. When they saw this scene, the pupils of many leaders of forces outside the Sky Devil region suddenly shrank, and they all hurriedly looked over. They had a premonition that an unprecedented battle was about to occur. Escaping into the void in front of me. Aren't you a little too stupid? Ning Tian raised his hand slightly, and his palm was enveloped by a milky white energy. Frightening spatial energy gathered in his palm. At that moment, he was already an 8-star supreme ancient god, and his grasp of the spatial laws had also improved by leaps and bounds. In his eyes, everything that escaped into the void could not escape. Jejia, as expected of the 10th heavenly divine body, your grasp of the power of laws is actually so strong. However, this god wants to see how you will survive in this desperate situation today. That sinister voice sounded again. He saw dozens of figures appeared in the sky that had just collapsed. These figures were all wearing white clothes. Their white clothes fluttered in the wind, and there was a single word on their white clothes. What? These are actually Earth and G ancient gods. Does that mean they are supreme ancient gods and chaotic ancient gods? Hiss. At this moment, outside the Sky Demon region, countless leaders of forces gasped. Their eyes were filled with shock. The ancient god Yun-Tu's foundation was simply terrifying. In the sky, there were 10 supreme ancient gods and 7 primal chaos ancient gods. Patriarch of the Tianma cult, you don't think this is the end, do you? At this moment, that eerie voice rang out once more. That meant this person wasn't among the 17 ancient gods. Could it be there's more to the ancient god Yun-Tu? Old man Tianzong thought of something extremely terrifying. Upon hearing old man Tianzong's words, Alliance Master Li couldn't help but tremble. The corner of his mouth twitched. Old man Tianzong, you mean the ancient god Yun-Tu even sent out a heaven ancient god? Heaven ancient god. That meant it was an ancient god at the sovereign realm. This ancient god Yun-Tu wouldn't be so ruthless, right? Boom. However, while everyone's expression was solemn, a strange aura flowed out of the sky. A cloud of black fog quietly appeared. When the black fog appeared, Ning Tian immediately sensed its aura. This was a cloud of chaotic aura. Moreover, it was an even purer chaotic aura. Jejia, I haven't appeared in the divine region for a long time. I wonder if anyone in the divine region still remembers this old man's name. A strange laugh rang out. A stooped old man walked out of the black mist with a walking stick in his hand. When one looked carefully, the walking stick was actually covered in dense human eyes, and just looking at it caused one's scalp to go numb. Human eye walking stick. This is the infamous eccentric elder black wind from hundreds of thousands of years ago. Hundreds of thousands of years ago, he was only a supreme ancient god. After hundreds of thousands of years, he became a sovereign ancient god. When the old man appeared, it immediately triggered the terrifying memories of many faction masters. Humph. Ignorant. A series of cold harumphs could be heard as a few terrifying figures walked out from the black mist one step at a time. In the blink of an eye, there were actually 6 of them. That's the Heaven Demon Sovereign and the Nightmare Demon God. These are all once famous experts. I didn't expect them to join the ancient god Yun too. Including these people, there are a total of 6 heaven ancient gods here. 10 supreme ancient gods, 7 chaos ancient gods, and 6 sovereign ancient gods. Hiss! I can't believe the ancient god Yuntu's foundation is so strong. If the 9 primes of the heavenly palace don't appear today, I'm afraid the Tianma cult will be removed from the divine region as soon as it reappears. Around them, outside the sky demon region, all the faction masters were dumbfounded. Some had even planned to rely on the Tianma cult to curry their favor. However, when they saw the ancient god Yuntu's power, they immediately extinguished that thought. Now, apart from the 9 primes of the heavenly palace, no one could save the Tianma cult. There are actually so many ancient gods. Is the ancient god Yuntu crazy? Heavenly god Shengsuan's expression was solemn as cold sweat dripped down his forehead. Even he had no ability to resist against so many ancient gods. Around them, everyone was silent. Currently, the Tianma cult only had heavenly god Shangsun, ancestor Fengtian, Tao god reincarnation, Yinqing, and the 4 primes of the demon region who had finally broken through to the ancient god realm. Including Ning Tian and the 2 women, there were only 12 of them. Moreover, apart from ancestor Fengtian, who was a sovereign ancient god, the rest were only supreme ancient gods. One could imagine how aware they were. If the 9 primes of the heavenly palace were here, these guys wouldn't dare to be so arrogant. However, Tao God Reincarnation frowned as a crazy murderous intent flashed in his eyes. He clenched his teeth, but he felt powerless. Hearing this, everyone was silent. That's right. If the 9 primes of the heavenly palace were here, who would dare to act rashly? Ning Tian, what should we do now? The 9-tailed celestial fox frowned as she looked at Ning Tian. At the same time, not only the people around them, but everyone else's eyes fell on Ning Tian. The Tianma cult's patriarch was basically in a hopeless situation. Under such circumstances, what should the patriarch of the Tianma cult do? Chapter 709. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd. Ning Tian frowned, his gaze fixed on the 23 ancient gods in the ancient god cloud atlas. He didn't say a word. What's going on? The ancestral master of the Tianma cult. He was just boasting shamelessly, but now he doesn't even dare to fart? Who the F***CK dares to do that? Do you dare? Anyway, I don't dare. These are 23 ancient gods, and there are 6 F***king ancient gods among them. If they dare to attack, I dare to die. I'm afraid that even the ancestral master of the Tianma cult can't do anything in this situation where death is certain. Sigh. The ancient god cloud atlas is too strong. Only the celestial palace can stand up to him. The other forces will shatter at the slightest touch. Outside the celestial demon zone, sighs rang out one after another. The ancient god cloud atlas was too strong. He was so strong that they didn't even have the courage to look him in the eye. We don't have to rely on our senior brothers and sisters for everything. Why do we need them to take action against these insignificant ancient gods? Do they really think that any piece of trash can bully the Tianma cult? Just as all was quiet and everyone was panicking, Ning Tian's indifferent voice slowly rang out. His tightly furrowed brows relaxed, and the corners of his mouth curled into a kind smile as he looked indifferently at everyone in the ancient god cloud atlas. It's coming. It's coming. It's the ancestral master's signature move. When the ancestral master smiles, it's hard to predict whether he'll live or die. Among the Tianma cult disciples, Old Su's eyes widened in anticipation. What? As soon as he said this, everyone's pupils shrank and their minds went blank. An ancient god that was not up to par? Some trash? Did they hear wrong? Or was the Tianma cult's ancestral master's brain fried? The 23 ancient gods were placed there, so how could they be fake? Outside the celestial demon zone, the brains of some of the force's experts couldn't keep up. Oh, as expected of the patriarch of the Tianma cult, you're about to die, yet you're still so stubborn. This god wants to see how you're going to survive in this hopeless situation. The nightmare demon god's sinister voice rang out. His demonic eyes were filled with mockery. Desperate situation? You think too highly of you. Ning Tian's faint voice rang out. His voice was terrifyingly calm, as though he wasn't worried at all. It was as though he was confident that he could reverse the situation. It gave all the disciples of the Tianma cult a sense of peace. Even Tao God Reincarnation and the others were stunned. They wondered where Ning Tian's confidence came from. Could it be? Was his self-confidence at its peak? However, only the two women who knew Ning Tian well would know that no matter how desperate Ning Tian was, he would not show it. That was because he was backed by everyone from the Tianma cult. If even he was in despair, then what about the others? As long as there was a sliver of hope, no matter how slim it was, Ning Tian would continue to try and turn the tide. And this was their husband. However, I didn't expect that with your intelligence, you finally found out that the item is in my hands. The corners of Ning Tian's mouth curled up slightly. He raised his hand, and a small black pagoda appeared in his palm, spinning continuously. This is that demonic pagoda. Seeing the item in Ning Tian's hand, Di Tian, who had seen it a few times, narrowed his eyes. This thing, it's very strange. It's really the Buddha demonic pagoda? The item that we've been searching for is indeed in your hands. Ha ha ha. Is our million years of hard work going to be realized today? The moment they saw the Buddha demonic pagoda, the nightmare demon god and the other ancient gods in the sky narrowed their eyes. A glint flashed across their eyes, and their breathing became hurried. Realized? You're just tools, Ning Tian said indifferently. Huh, what do you mean? The nightmare demon god and the others were stunned. Ning Tian was also stunned. He didn't know why he suddenly said that. It was as though he had blurted it out subconsciously from the depths of his memory. You want the Buddha demonic pagoda? Then come and get it. Ning Tian didn't explain. He raised the demonic pagoda and looked at them indifferently. Is that so? When the nightmare demon god heard that, he couldn't help but sneer. He crossed his arms and looked coldly at Ning Tian, as though he had succeeded. Boom! Right at this moment, a terrifying flame appeared behind Ning Tian, and it blasted towards the defenseless Ning Tian. Meanwhile, a terrifying suction force exploded from his other hand, and it went towards the Buddha demonic pagoda. Husband, ancestor, be careful. Yinqing, what are you doing? Behind him, several voices sounded at the same time. The one who attacked Ning Tian was actually Ancestor Fan Tian's beloved disciple, Yinqing. Ha ha ha. The Buddha demonic pagoda is mine. Yinqing's speed was shockingly fast. He wasn't a 1-star supreme ancient god, but a 6-star supreme ancient god. At this moment, he was almost behind Ning Tian. The distance was too close. Even Ancestor Fan Tian couldn't make it in time. Yours? You're weaker than me. How dare you attack me? However, the moment Yinqing appeared behind Ning Tian, he heard a ticking sound. Then, as though time had frozen, he froze on the spot. I used a known piece of information in exchange for an unknown piece of information. This isn't a loss. Ning Tian turned around slowly, toying with the Buddha demonic pagoda in his hand. Qin Luo had already said that there might be a mole in the fire domain. Since Luo Wuqing had not caught him, it meant that the mole had hidden himself extremely well. Now that the ancient god Yun Tu knew that the Buddha demon pagoda was in his hands, he might as well use this to lure the mole out. This wasn't a loss at all. What a piece of trash. You didn't even get it. Seeing that Yinqing was almost subdued, the nightmare demon god was so angry that he cursed. He snorted again. Humph. Ancestral master of the Tianma cult, don't be so smug. Even if the sneak attack failed, we can still take the Buddha demonic pagoda with our strength. Is that so? Ning Tian looked up at the ancient gods of the ancient god Yun Tu, and a cold glint flashed across his eyes. Nightmare demon god, do you know what the stupidest thing you've ever done is? A black glint flashed across his eyes. Ancestral master of the Tianma cult, what do you mean? The nightmare demon god frowned as he looked at the smile on Ning Tian's face. He suddenly had a bad feeling. Why? How many supreme ancient gods should I bring here? This is a free opportunity. This ancestral master can't let it go to waste. Ning Tian chuckled as a black aura appeared around him. The black glint in his eyes condensed as he looked at the 10 supreme ancient gods. In his eyes, the aura of death slowly turned cold and indifferent. A single word. It came out from his mouth. Die. Chapter 710. Boom. Just one word. What kind of power is this? My life will be taken away again? One look to determine life and death. The word death was like a devil's whisper that could easily take away one's life. What? You. What's wrong with you? Upon seeing the appearance of the 10 supreme ancient gods, the expressions of the nightmare demon god and the others changed drastically as a smear of doubt flashed across their eyes. They hurriedly asked the 10 supreme ancient gods. Demon god, his eyes can kill. One of the ancient gods murmured. After a look of fear appeared on his face, his entire body was shrouded by a black gas. Wherever the black gas passed, his body seemed to turn into a pile of black powder and disappeared with the wind. Furthermore, it was not only his physical body that died, but also his soul. Those who died under this gaze did not even have the right to go to the Earth Soul domain. At this moment, the wind around them also stopped. The leaders of the various forces were all dumbfounded. They looked at Ning Tian with eyes full of shock and even fear. If Ning Tian looked at them, they wouldn't even know how they died. It turned out that a person's gaze could really kill. Hiss! The patriarch of the Tianma cult is so terrifying. Around them, sounds of shock could be heard incessantly. This was the effect that Ning Tian wanted. You have shocked ancient god Yun Tu and the group of ancient gods. You have shocked everyone in the Sky Demon region. You have shocked a group of spectating experts. Reward, near-death energy. In his mind, the system's voice sounded at this moment. However, although it mentioned the reward, it did not elaborate on the use of the reward. However, from the name, Ning Tian basically knew what he wanted to do. Now that the 10 supreme ancient gods are dead, the next step is much simpler. Wife, can the two of you deal with 2 one-star chaotic ancient gods? Ning Tian looked at the 2 women. He knew that they still had some tricks up their sleeves, but he was not sure. Husband, don't worry. Although the 2 of us aren't as strong as you, we can handle the 2 one-star chaotic ancient gods. Luo Wuqing and Su Yueyao smiled confidently. They hadn't been cultivating for nothing while following Luo Wei. As for the other 5 primal chaos ancient gods, I'll leave them to you, Ancestor Burning Sky. Ning Tian looked at Ancestor Fun Tian, Reincarnation Tao God, and the others. The other 5 chaotic ancient gods were not weak. Ancestor Fun Tian was an expert who was close to ancient god ruler. It would be more than enough for him to lead Reincarnation Tao God and the others. What about you, Patriarch? The Burning Sky progenitor was not in a hurry to agree to Ning Tian's request. He frowned and looked at Ning Tian. At this very moment, Tao God Reincarnation, Nine-Tailed Fox, and the others also looked over. Now, only the 6 ancient gods of sovereigns had yet to be allocated. Those were the 6 genuine ancient gods of sovereigns. Could it be? They looked at Ning Tian with a bad feeling in their hearts. Me. Leave the 6 ancient gods of sovereigns to me. Ning Tian looked over and said indifferently, Patriarch, those are 6 ancient gods of sovereigns. Even you are no match for 6 ancient gods of sovereigns. Ancestor Fan Tian's expression changed drastically, and he quickly tried to dissuade Jian Wushuang. Then, who is their match? Ning Tian chuckled and asked in return. Once Jian Wushuang said that, the surroundings fell into silence, and they all felt helpless. That's right, No one here was a match for the 6 ancient gods of sovereigns. The patriarch naturally knew that. However, he could only bite the bullet and do it because he had a responsibility on his shoulders. Patriarch, at this very moment, in Tianma cult, all the disciples looked depressed. They looked at Ning Tian with sorrow and worry in their eyes. It's just a battle. So what if I die? Besides, who said that I will definitely die? Ning Tian chuckled softly as he took a step into the sky, and the 6 ancient gods of the ancient god cloud diagram were right before him. In the sky, a black-clothed youth calmly fought the 6 of them alone. Let's try to end this battle quickly so that we can free up our hands and help our husband, Luo Wuqing shouted. His long hair turned blue again and flames rose. His aura suddenly erupted. Sui Weiyao did the same. It seemed that Luo Wei had improved a lot with the 2 girls. Yes, Wuqing is right. This is the only way now. Live through death. Ancestor Fantian nodded heavily. This was the only way for them now. You overestimate yourself, the nightmare demon god said indifferently. He and the other 5 ancient gods all looked at Ning Tian. They didn't care about the others. What they cared about was the item in the hands of the Tianma cult's patriarch. For a moment, the dark clouds in the sky changed color and the atmosphere became white-hot. F***CK. They're going to fight. I just remembered that my mother called me home for dinner. I'll leave first. This is a battle between ancient gods. I'm afraid that it will affect a lot of people. Seeing this scene, many experts outside the Sky Demon region swallowed a mouthful of saliva. Some of the weaker ones were afraid that they would be implicated, so they hurriedly fled the place. However, most of them chose to witness this scene. If the Tianma cult's patriarch could really defeat the 6 ancient gods of sovereigns alone, he might really become a god. The name of the Tianma cult's patriarch. It would resound throughout the entire god realm. At this moment, many experts outside the Sky Demon region were looking forward to it. This battle, would the Tianma cult's patriarch become a god by stepping on the corpses of the ancient gods, or would the Tianma cult, which had just reappeared in the god realm, leave quietly? 6th update. Yesterday, I finished 3 chapters. My computer screen turned blue. I lost the manuscript. I wrote it for nothing. I'm devastated. Today, I can only write 12,000 with tears in my eyes. Chapter 7:11. Boom. In the sky, waves of terrifying auras swept out like waves. Outside the Sky Demon region, the powerhouses of the various forces looked at the sky with solemn gazes. Dozens of figures were intertwined with each other, and the spiritual energy in their attacks shattered the void. It was extremely terrifying. Hiss, I didn't expect these 2 women to be so strong. The Heavenly Demon Empress and the Jade Lake Saint Master are indeed the women of the Tianma cult's patriarch. They were just supreme ancient gods earlier, but in the blink of an eye, they can unleash strength comparable to a 1-star chaotic ancient god. Moreover, the most terrifying thing is that they are even suppressing the 2 chaotic ancient gods. All the ancient gods of the Tianma cult have an advantage, but their advantage is all because the patriarch of the Tianma cult withstood all the pressure in exchange for their advantage. Because of this, their auras are not the least bit fearful. Instead, their auras are even stronger. Seeing the 2 women and Tao God reincarnation gaining an advantage in the sky, the leaders of the various forces looked to the side of the sky with a solemn expression. On that side, the black-clothed youth's expression was cold, but there was still a faint smile on his lips. He stood with his hands behind his back, and in front of him, the 6 ancient gods of the sovereign level were looking at him viciously. It was because he alone faced the 6 ancient gods of the sovereign level that the Tianma cult had a chance to catch their breath. Patriarch of the Tianma cult, I would like to see how brave you are to face the 6 of us. The nightmare demon god sneered. Beside him, Sky Demon God, Strange Elder Black Wind, and the others sneered as well. Although the kid in front of them was very strange, and they could not see through his strength, there was a crucial piece of information to judge. That was, he was the 10th celestial body. Then, no matter how much of a freak he was, he would not have cultivated longer than the 9 supremes of the celestial palace. With that being the case, the heavenly demon cult's patriarch would not be stronger than the 9 supremes of the celestial palace. When the 6 of them faced the celestial palace alone, even if they could not win, they could still escape. Therefore, whether they won or lost, they would not lose. Moreover, the strength of the Tianma cult's patriarch was not as strong as the 9 supremes of the heavenly palace. Thinking of this, the nightmare demon god's smile became even more wanton. He looked at Ning Tian mockingly. "Don't worry, we won't kill you today. After all, there are 10 people with heavenly god physiques, and not one of them can be missing." Kiki. It seems that ancient god Yun Tu knew about the heavenly god constitution's final battle. If he could make them kill each other, why not? Are you done with the analysis? Ning Tian had a smile on his face as he looked at the 6 people. Their analysis was indeed clear and logical, but they were analyzing Ning Tian as a normal person. However, could the patriarch be measured by a normal person? 6 people. Just nice. I'll use 6 laws to deal with them. Ning Tian raised his hand slightly, and 6 lights appeared behind him. Life, death, ice, space, heavenly fire, time. 6 laws of nature. Seeing this, many experts outside the Sky Demon region narrowed their eyes. Everyone knew that the heavenly god constitution made it easier to cultivate the laws of nature, but the Tianma cult's patriarch had learned 6 laws of nature. Ha ha ha. What a joke. You want to kill someone with the law of life? The nightmare demon god's eyes were full of disdain. He waved his hand, and a powerful aura condensed in his body. At this moment, Sky Demon Supreme God, Black Wind Eccentric Elder, and the other 4 ancient gods' auras erupted and swept toward Ning Tian. Boom, boom. In an instant, 6 terrifying auras came crushing over. Ning Tian's body suddenly sank. He clenched his teeth, and the spiritual energy in his body surged, resisting the 6 terrifying auras. His gaze fell on the 6 ancient gods. Among these 6 ancient god sovereigns, 2 of them are genuine ancient god sovereigns. The other 4 were forcefully raised by the chaotic aura. Their basic strength is far from a genuine ancient god of nature, but even so, no matter how weak they are still peak chaotic ancient gods. It's difficult. Ning Tian frowned, feeling helpless. If he did not even have the courage to try, then he would not be Ning Tian. Come on, I want to see how strong the 6 of you are. Ning Tian's lips curled into a cold smile. Then, he pressed his hand down heavily. At this moment, space energy erupted and forcibly transferred the 6 ancient gods' auras that enveloped him. Trying to run. Indestructible palm. When the 6 ancient gods' auras were reversed by space energy, Black Wind Eccentric Elder did not give Ning Tian a chance to catch his breath. Instead, he sent a heavy palm strike toward Ning Tian. Time. In just an instant, Ning Tian shouted out 2 words with a cold expression. Boom. When the ticking sound was heard, Black Wind Eccentric Elder's body paused for a moment. Ning Tian also dodged, but the other 5's attacks landed heavily on him. Crack. Puff. A mouthful of blood spurted out from Ning Tian's mouth. The sound of bones breaking could be heard from his body. This was definitely the most embarrassing battle he had ever fought. They were not strong enough to crush him. In fact, their strength was far beyond his own. The 6 of them cooperated very well. They did not give Ning Tian any chance to react at all. When he dodged one attack, 5 attacks would come at him. The pressure was so strong that if he was not careful, he could be seriously injured or even killed. In the sky. Bang. 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 One could see. Several figures were flashing. Terrifying spiritual energy kept erupting in the sky. In the blink of an eye, several seconds had passed. He had resisted hundreds and thousands of attacks. Facing the 6 ancient gods' joint attack, Ning Tian seemed to be struggling. Even if he could block all the attacks, the remaining power still landed heavily on his body. Soon Ning Tian was covered in blood. The patriarch of the Tianma cult is being suppressed. The patriarch of the Tianma cult, doesn't seem to be a match. Could it be that he's just pretending? If that's the case, the patriarch of the Tianma cult will definitely be defeated in less than 10 moves. The Tianma cult is finished. Seeing this scene, many experts from outside the Sky Demon region frowned. The people of the Tianma cult were even more worried. Your strength seems to be very weak. The nightmare demon god's lips curled into a sneer. The 6 ancient gods looked at Ning Tian mockingly. Patriarch, Patriarch, there was silence all around. Everyone's eyes were on him. Some were gloating, some were worried, some were fearful, and so on. They were all looking at the young man in black clothes stained with blood in the sky. In the eyes of many experts, the patriarch of the Tianma cult was already a dead man. Strength? Haha, my strength is indeed very weak. Ning Tian wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. A faint smile appeared on his face. He did not deny the nightmare demon god's words. Hearing this, the nightmare demon god was stunned. Many experts from the surrounding forces were also dumbfounded. The patriarch of the Tianma cult actually admitted it? I'm stuck. I'm not satisfied with this battle no matter how I write it. I'll update one today and make up for it tomorrow. That's 5 updates, but if I make up for it, then it'll be 6 updates tomorrow. Chapter 712. Husband, not far away. Luo Wuqing pushed back the chaos ancient god with a palm strike. Her beautiful eyes were filled with worry. Seeing Ning Tian covered in blood, her heart ached even more. But she understood. The reason why Ning Tian fought the 6 gods alone was to buy time for them. She could not let her husband down. In the sky, Ning Tian wiped off the blood from the corner of his lips casually. Even though he was clearly in a wretched state, he looked as though victory was within his grasp. Looking at this, the nightmare demon god and the others could not help but frown. Looking at Ning Tian, who was covered in blood, they could not help but feel worried. I am strong, but it is not strength. Speaking of this, Ning Tian raised the corner of his mouth slightly and looked at the 6 gods indifferently. It is my means. As soon as he finished speaking, boom, in an instant, a terrifying bloody aura suddenly appeared on Ning Tian's body. His entire body was shrouded in bloody aura. His aura was also condensing at this moment. The near-death state has been activated. The host has activated the blood carnage state. The current state is at 30%. The more serious the injury, the stronger the strength. All the host's abilities will be increased by 100%. In his mind, the system's voice sounded at this moment. Boom, boom, boom. The bloody aura around Ning Tian was so dense that even his eyes had turned scarlet. When he raised his hand, the bloody aura flowed all over his body. His aura was pressing against the 6 ancient gods. As expected, feeling the bloody aura all over his body, Ning Tian raised the corner of his mouth slightly. He had indeed used all his strength in the battle with the 6 gods. However, he had not used the law of life. If he could heal his injuries, he would be injured if he did not. This attempt could be said to be a gamble with his life. If he was careless, he might have died on the spot from the 6 gods' attack. He did not even have time to use the law of life. This was a bold attempt. The result of this attempt was the activation of the near-death state and the activation of the blood carnage state. The founder transformed into a berserker. Moreover, he was a berserker who could continuously improve. Don't forget that he had only activated 30% of the blood carnage state. Have you had enough? Ning Tian's indifferent voice sounded. He wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and looked at 6 gods indifferently. Next, it's my turn to perform. Under the gazes of tens of thousands of people, the blood-soaked Ning Tian looked indifferently at the 6 gods. His aura began to rise, and his body was filled with terrifying blood energy. One of the 6 laws that had appeared behind him slowly dissipated. That is, the laws of life. The patriarch of the Tianma cult had actually taken the initiative to disperse the law of life. Could it be that he didn't intend to use this method anymore? Without the law of life, his chances of dying against the 6 gods would greatly increase. Many forces outside the Tianma region frowned when they saw this scene. Deep confusion flashed through their eyes. They wanted to figure out the thoughts of the Tianma cult's patriarch, but they couldn't figure it out no matter how hard they tried. Withdrawing the laws of life at such a critical moment was no different than courting death. Crazy. The patriarch of the Tianma cult had gone mad. However, the crowd didn't know that the law of life would only affect Ning Tian's strength at this moment. Your performance? Kiki, what a joke. This old man would like to see what you can do. Strange elder Black Wind leaned on his walking stick and sneered. He couldn't help but snort at Ning Tian's words when he was being suppressed by them just now. However, before he could finish his words, he saw a black-robed figure appeared beside eccentric elder Black Gale like a ghost. When Ning Tian looked up, he threw a heavy punch. The blood energy in his body also erupted at this moment. Strange elder Black Wind immediately raised his walking stick to block the attack. But, boom, there was a violent explosion. Crack. The walking stick, which was full of human eyes, broke into two halves under Ning Tian's punch. The remaining wind from the punch was still terrifying as it landed on strange elder Black Wind's chest. This old man's super divine weapon. Elder Black Zephyr's pupils suddenly constricted, and then Bai An's body seemed to have suffered a boundless force. His entire body was blasted flying and smashed heavily against the ground of the Sky Devil domain. Boom! There was a loud explosion and many buildings collapsed. You destroyed my Tianma cult's buildings. You have to pay for this. Ning Tian retracted her fist and glanced at the buildings below as she spoke indifferently. At this moment, there was dead silence all around. The patriarch of the Tianma cult, who was suppressed by the 6 gods just a moment ago, actually had the ability to resist and even hit strange Elder Black Wind heavily in the blink of an eye. Damn it! Elder Black Wind struggled to crawl up from the pile of ruins, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. His imposing aura had weakened a little. He fiercely raised his eyes to look at the sky, but before he could say anything, a pitch-black object smashed onto his head. Huh? What is this? Strange Elder Black Wind was stunned. When he took a closer look, he frowned deeply. Old man, this is called roasted horsewhip. At the side, Zhu Yuanbua's cursing voice could be heard. Brothers and sisters of the Tianma cult, use your horsewhips to smash this old man to death. Yu Qin, use the horsewhip. Okay. At this moment, many Tianma cult disciples took out their roasted horsewhips and smashed them directly at strange Elder Black Wind. What a pity for these good horsewhips. Zhu Yuanbua took a bite of the roasted horsewhip in his hand with tears in his eyes and threw it out fiercely. Don't be sad. Smash them hard for this old man. The Supreme Elder urged from the side. You make it sound so easy. If you have the ability, smash this dog to death with your Imperial Maiden painting. That won't do. That would be letting this guy off too easily. Grand Elder immediately refused. Strange expressions appeared on the faces of many people around them when they saw strange Elder Black Wind being hit with horsewhips by the Tianma cult disciples. After being stunned for a while, strange Elder Black Wind flew into a rage out of humiliation. You're courting death. Today, he was humiliated by a horsewhip. Boom. His aura fluctuated. In an instant, all the horsewhips thrown at him were shattered by this terrifying aura. Zhu Yuanbua could only sigh in pity. You're courting death. Although strange Elder Black Wind was injured by Ning Tian, his aura was still not something the Tianma cult disciples could compare to. He stood on the spot and slapped Zhu Yuanbua, scaring Zhu Yuanbua so much that he pissed his pants and hurriedly shouted, F***CK, Master Lion, hurry up and save me. I'll treat you to roasted horsewhips. Roar, roar, roar. As soon as Zhu Yuanbua finished speaking, a lion's roar that shook heaven and earth resounded from within the Tianma cult. Then, under a flash of pitch-black light, a huge monster suddenly appeared in the Tianma domain. Its endless bloody mouth suddenly opened and swallowed strange Elder Black Wind in one gulp. Chapter 713. This is the Tianma cult's guardian divine beast? Many experts outside the Tianma region felt their hearts tremble when they saw the terrifying beast that was as tall as the sky. This terrifying and huge thing simply gave them a strong sense of oppression. This demonic beast was at least comparable to an ancient god expert. Roar! The sealing flame Lion King swallowed Elder Black Wind in one gulp and roared. Damn you! How dare you demolish this Master Lion's territory? How presumptuous! This Master Lion has yet to demolish it, and this little old man actually dares to do it first. He is simply not putting this Master Lion in his eyes. I forgot about this Sha Tian fellow. In the sky, the black-clothed Ning Tian was facing the nightmare demon god and the others. After seeing the sealing flame Lion King swallow Elder Black Wind in one gulp, he couldn't help but chuckle. The sealing flame Lion King's presence was too insignificant. He had almost forgotten about it. Sha Tian, spit this old thing out. With your current strength, you still can't swallow him in one gulp. Go and protect the Tianma cult disciples. Don't let them be affected by the battle. Ning Tian said indifferently. If the sealing flame Lion King completely transformed into a Taodai, its strength would be comparable to a supreme ancient god. However, Elder Black Wind was still a sovereign ancient god. He might not be able to come out in a short period of time, but after a long time, this old man would find a way to deal with it. Sha Tian would be in trouble then. Roar! The sealing flame Lion King nodded at the ancestral master's words. Then, it spat out Elder Black Wind, who was wrapped in a mouthful of phlegm, from the sealing flame Lion King's mouth. The smell on his body was simply unimaginable. Roar grass. After spitting out Elder Black Wind, the sealing flame Lion King even took out a small handkerchief and wiped its mouth in disgust. This little old man was really smelly. He had dirted Master Lion King's mouth. Elder Black Wind gnashed his teeth in anger at the sight of this. What did it mean to kill someone's heart? This was killing someone's heart. The damage wasn't high, but it was very insulting. This Sha Tian fellow had learned the essence of the ancestral master. Black Wind, come back. When strange Elder Black Wind wanted to attack the Lion Monarch, the nightmare demon god yelled for him to return. Strange Elder Black Wind had no choice but to return unwillingly. Patriarch of the Tianma cult, you are indeed something. It seems that we will have to go all out. The nightmare demon god narrowed his eyes and glared at Ning Tian. Full power? Did they not use their full strength just now? Hearing this, many Tianma cult disciples and powerhouses from outside the Tianma region all had serious looks in their eyes. They couldn't help but gasp. If they went all out, would Patriarch still be able to resist? Full power? I want to see what your full strength is, Ning Tian said indifferently as the Scarlet Heaven sword quietly landed in his hand. And when he heard this, the nightmare demon god and the other 5 didn't waste any more words. Their auras rose once again and wisps of black gas flowed out from their bodies. This black gas was probably the aura of disorder that they relied on. Boom. Boom. Next, the nightmare demon god and the other 5 used their own techniques. Their terrifying auras continued to gather. Even though they were tens of thousands of meters away, many powerhouses felt a terrifying suppression. The appearance of this suppression made it difficult to even breathe. Suppression. This was the suppression of the 6 ancient god sovereigns. Boom. The sky changed color at this moment. Patriarch of the Tianma cult. This move is enough to severely injure you. The nightmare demon god's demonic aura surged and his eyes were cold. He raised his hand and instantly, a terrifying power flowed out. Severely injure? Then I will have to look forward to it. Ning Tian's lips curled into a smile. You are really courting death. Seeing Ning Tian's reaction, the nightmare demon god thought that Ning Tian was looking down on the 6 ancient gods. Instantly, killing intent surged in his eyes and his power increased again. However, Ning Tian was really just looking forward to it. Cut the crap. After I cripple the Tianma cult's patriarch, this old man will definitely slaughter that demonic beast. Strange Elder Black Wind snorted. He still could not get rid of the old lion's phlegm on his body. That stench was so strong that even the surrounding ancient gods could not withstand it and subconsciously distanced themselves from him. At this moment, the 6 ancient gods' attack condensed into an instant-killing energy and blasted toward Ning Tian. Its speed was shockingly fast. If he was not careful, he might really be severely injured. At this moment, all eyes were on him. Everyone became nervous, and their breathing quickened. The Tianma cult's patriarch. What should he do? Patriarch of the Tianma cult, I want to see how pathetically you will block this move. The nightmare demon god sneered. Block? Why should I block? Everyone only heard Ning Tian's chuckle. Then, as the sword flashed, Ning Tian did not waste his spiritual energy to block the terrifying instant-killing intent and even took the initiative to charge toward the 6 ancient gods. Spiritual energy is concentrated for this sword. A glint flashed across Ning Tian's eyes. The instant-killing intent condensed by the 6 ancient gods also landed on him at this moment. Boom. Rumble. In an instant, a terrifying bloody hole was blasted open in Ning Tian's chest. Blood flowed out from the hole, and countless bones in his body were shattered. He spat out mouthfuls of blood. Wah. At this moment, Ning Tian's life force dissipated instantly. Even his eyes lost their light. What is he doing? Has the Tianma cult's patriarch gone mad? Why didn't he block this move? That move almost killed him in an instant. Seeing this scene, many masters of the forces around felt their hearts beating wildly at this moment. Their pupils constricted, and their eyes were filled with fear and confusion. They could not understand why Ning Tian gave up blocking the attack. Could it be that he insisted on seeking death? At this moment, looking at the sky, everyone could see a bloody hole in the chest. They could even see a living heart beating continuously. However, the frequency of the beating was getting slower and slower. This was enough to show how seriously injured the Tianma cult's patriarch was. Luo Wuqing and the others, who were fighting in the distance, were even more worried. If they did not know that Ning Tian would not do something he was not confident in, they would have thought that Ning Tian was seeking his own death. Tick-tock, tick-tock, tick-tock. They saw. In the sky, Ning Tian, who was covered in blood, was standing in the same place. Blood was still gushing out from his chest and dripping onto the ground. Is he dead? Everyone's hearts were in their mouths. The host has activated the bloodbath state. The current state is at 60%. The more serious the injury, the stronger the strength. All the host's abilities are increased by 300%. At this moment, the system's voice sounded in Ning Tian's mind. Become stronger. It's really difficult. A bitter smile appeared on Ning Tian's face when she heard that voice. She glanced at Scarlet Heaven's sword in her hand and instantly vanished on the spot. Bang! A sonic boom suddenly sounded. Chapter 7:14. At that moment, Ning Tian actually vanished into thin air. In the next moment, he appeared before 6 gods. He raised his bloodied face as madness flashed through his eyes. Sword will, wild dance. Sword will, ultimate kill. As soon as he finished speaking, Ning Tian held Crimson Cloud in his hand and sent out tens of thousands of sword will. What? He's seriously injured, but he can still move so quickly? The nightmare demon god's expression changed drastically. Ning Tian's entire body was enveloped by a bloody aura. One could even see the thick blood flowing out of his body. Although Ning Tian was in a very sorry state at the moment, he was in a very sorry state. But, instead, his aura was rising steadily. Something's not right. Not only that, his aura is getting stronger. Sky Demon God and the others' expressions changed drastically. They could not even react to the speed of the sword will. The sword will kept slashing their bodies, causing them to bleed profusely. Damn it! Seeing that they couldn't resist the sword intent, the 6 gods were very decisive. They directly attacked Ning Tian from within the sword intent storm. As long as they could defeat Ning Tian, the sword will storm would be broken. Boom, boom, boom. 6 gods' attacks kept falling on Ning Tian. But what they hadn't expected was that Ning Tian hadn't made any defensive preparations at all. She allowed their attacks to land on her body, and her own attacks never stopped. Her sword intent carried with it an aura of death and raging flames. It was as if defense would only slow down the speed of his attacks. Wah, boom, boom. The sound of blood being spat out and bones being broken could be heard constantly. Everyone was trembling in fear. The patriarch of the Tianma cult was fighting with his life on the line. It was too crazy. Everyone looked at Ning Tian with fear in their eyes. They could not afford to provoke such a person. He was fighting with blood. He's crazy. He's really crazy. The patriarch of the Tianma cult is King Lunatic. The nightmare demon god's eyes were originally filled with disdain, but now they were filled with fear. Every move that landed on Ning Tian's body was not just a tickle. This was true damage. This was the attack of 6 ancient god sovereigns. Boom, boom. However, even though his body was heavily injured, Ning Tian was still swinging his sword. It was fine for him to be heavily injured, but don't think you'll be any better. In an instant, even Ning Tian's legs had been crippled. Similarly, the 6 ancient god sovereigns were also covered in sword wounds. How strange. What does he know? The more he fights, the braver he gets. Strange Elder Black Wind spat out a mouthful of blood as cold sweat dripped down his back. The 5 people around him were also panting heavily as they looked at Ning Tian, their eyes filled with doubt. Host has activated Carnage mode. Current activation rate, 70%. Currently, current activation rate, 90%. The more serious the injury, the stronger the strength. All the host's abilities have been increased by 900%. In Ning Tian's mind, from the beginning, the system's voice had been ringing non-stop. His entire body was filled with blood energy. His aura had increased by 900% compared to before. He was really using his life to increase his strength. What's going on? This Tianma cult's ancestral master doesn't know how to play unless he's severely injured? Seeing Ning Tian covered in blood and crippled in both legs, the experts from the various factions swallowed a mouthful of saliva as they looked at Ning Tian with deep respect. This kind of fighting spirit was simply terrifying. Ancestral Master. Inside the Tianma cult, many female disciples were already shedding tears, while some male disciples were clenching their fists. Sword intent. Kill. Ning Tian's voice had become hoarse. His hand was covered in blood as he swung his sword again. Pooh! This time, the sword intent turned into a bloody mist. With a blood-curdling scream, Elder Black Wind's hands were chopped off. The other 5 didn't fare any better. Although they used their skills at the first moment, under this sword, their defenses were as thin as paper and were instantly torn apart by the sword intent. Pooh! A mouthful of blood spurted out from their mouths. Damn it! This Tianma cult's ancestral master is already in such a state. But why is his aura getting stronger? The nightmare demon god wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and looked at Ning Tian, who was covered in blood and had a bloody hole in his chest. His legs were basically crippled, and not a single bone in his body was intact. He couldn't help but clench his teeth. This can't go on. I'm afraid he'll drag the 6 of us to death before he dies. The heavenly demon god's eyes were solemn. At this moment, the 6 gods could originally crush Ning Tian, but as the Tianma cult's ancestral master's injuries worsened, his strength became stronger and stronger. He even had a vague feeling that he could crush the 6 gods. This kid probably has some strange secret technique. The more injured he is, the stronger he will become. Maybe we've been used from the start. The nightmare demon god's eyes flashed, and he finally reacted at this moment. There's actually such a strange secret technique. Sky Monster Supreme God and the others' faces darkened when they heard that. We can't waste any more time. Let's try to kill him in one move. We can't care so much anymore. The nightmare demon god's eyes flashed fiercely. If this continued, he might not be able to get the Buddha Demon Tower and that unknown heart. And with today's incident, the Heavenly Palace would probably be on guard, and there would be no more chances. Then, let's use the Chaos Ultimate technique. The heavenly demon god nodded heavily, and the energy of the chaos ultimate technique flowed out of his body. At the same time, the nightmare demon god and the others did the same. The black energy flowed out, and their auras condensed at this moment. Boom! The sky turned dark. What kind of power is this? Why does this kind of power make it hard for me to breathe? Even my emotions are a little irritable. No, I can't even use my spiritual energy. What kind of power are they using? At the side, outside the heavenly demon region, old man Tianzhang's eyes were filled with horror. It wasn't just him. Everyone present felt their bodies being suppressed. Along with the appearance of the terrifying black fog in the sky, they even found it difficult to breathe. Their spiritual chi had been completely sealed. They were like fish on the chopping block, waiting to be slaughtered. Ancestral master of the Tianma cult, you forced us to do this. The nightmare demon god's eyes were filled with murderous intent. The chaos ultimate technique could not only increase their strength, but it was also one of their methods. After all, this was a power extracted from the chaos ultimate technique. Chaos ultimate technique, ultimate technique. With a shout filled with murderous intent, the terrifying black fog suddenly descended, as if the sky was collapsing. With a series of rumbles, it gave all the cultivators present a terrifying pressure. Chapter 7:15. Boom. Rumble. At this moment, it was as if the heavens were roaring furiously. An extremely evil force surged within the black fog. Cough. Ning Tian looked up at the black fog and coughed out a mouthful of blood. Looking at his sorry state, his lips curled into a helpless smile. This should be your last chance to hurt me. After this move, everything will be over, he murmured, and a green light flashed in his heart. At the same time, the terrifying black fog in the sky had already smashed down heavily, as if it was smashing into everyone's minds. Everyone was shocked. The appearance of this force made them feel extremely uneasy. Moreover, it was an instinctive uneasiness that came from the deepest part of their bodies. This move can even instantly kill an ancient god sovereign below 3-star. This demon god doesn't believe that the patriarch of the Tianma cult won't die. When the power of his breath of turmoil condensed and turned into a ball of black mist that smashed towards Ning Tian, the nightmare demon god and the others were also panting heavily. To them, this was also a great consumption of energy. However, they firmly believed, under this move, the patriarch of the Tianma cult would definitely not survive. The power of the breath of chaos was extremely powerful. Boom, boom, boom. When that cloud of black fog fell, in an instant, Ning Tian was enveloped within it. A scream seemed to come from the black fog. Patriarch? Patriarch. At this moment, the world seemed to have fallen into a deathly silence. Everyone's eyes were fixed on the black fog with a hint of anticipation in their eyes. Was the heavenly demon cult's founder still alive? Husband, at the side. The two women gritted their teeth and clenched their fists. Their nails dug into their flesh and blood flowed out. However, the two women didn't care at all. Their beautiful eyes were nervously looking at the black fog, and this black fog made everyone present feel what was called the aura of death. Boom. In the black fog, after that scream, there was no more movement. Is he dead? A cold glint flashed in the nightmare demon god's eyes. In the sky, although the 6 gods were in a sorry state, their auras were still strong. The ancient god sovereigns were indeed terrifying. Their gazes landed on the black fog. The black fog did not move at all. Why do I feel like the size of the breath of chaos is shrinking? Suddenly, Sky Demon God frowned. Hearing this, the nightmare demon god and the rest hurriedly looked over and saw that the black fog that was originally thousands of meters tall was shrinking bit by bit. It was as though something was absorbing the energy of this chaotic aura. Could it be the patriarch of the Tianma cult isn't dead? Strange Elder Black Wind's pupils shrank as he spoke in disbelief. Impossible. How could he still be alive after being injured by chaos annihilation? You should know that this is the extraction of the power of darkness. The nightmare demon god sneered. What? So, it's the Dark Rebellion? At this moment, hearing the nightmare demon god's words, the crowd finally understood why they were instinctively afraid of this energy. It was a taboo existence. Ancient god Cloud Atlas, what are they trying to do? They even dared to spy on such a power. Don't bring harm to the entire profound sky. Outside the sky demon region, a group of experts swallowed their saliva as their eyes were filled with horror. The power of the breath of chaos is indeed very strong, but this thing is not something that only you can control. This thing is not bad. I'll take it. Just as the crowd was shocked by the darkness annihilation, a faint chuckle sounded from the black fog. Patriarch? It's the Patriarch. Hearing this, everyone in the Tianma cult immediately reacted. Their originally depressed expressions instantly changed as their eyes regained their luster and began to look forward to it. The Patriarch is not dead. Then he will bring hope. Boom, boom, boom. Accompanied by a series of rumbling sounds, the black fog formed by the aura of chaos actually slowly dissipated. When the black fog completely dissipated, a figure covered in blood appeared in everyone's line of sight. His entire body was covered in blood, and even his legs were gone. At this moment, Ning Tian could be said to be in an extremely miserable state. Patriarch. Seeing this scene, everyone in the Tianma cult felt a heartache. The Patriarch had sacrificed too much for them. You're still not dead? No, it's the law of life. Looking at the tenacious Ning Tian, who was like a cockroach, the nightmare demon god's eyes flashed with horror. But soon, his pupils shrank as he saw the bloody hole in Ning Tian's chest and the strong beating of his heart. And above the heart, there was a ball of dense vitality emerging. That is the law of life. In other words, the current Ning Tian was like a phoenix rising from the ashes, bathed in blood and reborn. The near-death energy has been fully activated. The host has activated 2,000% of its power. The host has improved in all aspects. In his mind, the system's voice seemed to announce the end of everything. Next, it's time for my counterattack. Ning Tian muttered and wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. Following these words, the sky darkened once again. It was as if the rumbling of thunder could be heard in the high clouds. All of you, are you ready? Boom, boom. This is the sound of thunder? F***CK. Above us. What is that? At this moment, there was an explosion of exclamations. In an instant, everyone, including the nightmare demon god and the rest of the 6 gods, suddenly raised their heads. The moment they raised their heads, their pupils abruptly shrank as deep shock flashed through their eyes. They saw. Above their heads, dark clouds gathered and lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. They could vaguely see. There were millions of lightning bolts. This is lightning tribulation? When did this appear? The moment they saw the millions of lightning bolts, everyone felt their scalps go numb and their brains tremble. With millions of lightning bolts descending, who could survive? I'm afraid. It was condensed in the black fog when everyone's vision was blocked. The Tianma cult's patriarch actually forcefully transcended the tribulation in the black fog. He's really crazy. With such injuries, how can he transcend the tribulation? Crazy. He's really **King lunatic. A look of shock flashed across the nightmare demon god's eyes. He tried his best to calm his heart. Even if their move didn't kill the Tianma cult's patriarch, it still seriously injured him. The patriarch still wanted to receive the lightning bolts in a seriously injured state? What a joke. Rise after being broken? What a joke. You want to break through at the last minute to face the 6 of us? The nightmare demon god's cold laughter resounded in this world. Oh, who said that I'm the one to transcend this tribulation? Chapter 7:16. However, when the nightmare demon god sneered, Ning Tian looked up at the sky. Huh? What do you mean? The nightmare demon god narrowed his eyes. Ridiculous. In my opinion, This Tianma cult's ancestral master must have gone mad. Could it be that he still wants us to help him transcend this lightning tribulation? Strange Elder Black Wind sneered disdainfully. Oh, you're smart, Ning Tian said calmly. Hee, he's indeed mad. Six deities sneered. Boom. At this moment, above the sky, a thunderous roar rang out and struck directly at Ning Tian. Look, this kid is asking for trouble. He's going to undergo the tribulation. Who else should the lightning tribulation strike but him? Seeing this, Elder Black Wind couldn't help but sneer. Boom. Under everyone's gaze, a lightning tribulation struck toward Ning Tian. However, no one expected that it was just one of the millions of lightning bolts in the sky. Boom. However, when the lightning tribulation struck Ning Tian, it didn't cause any damage to Ning Tian. Instead, it formed an armor around him. The strangest thing was that the terrifying lightning actually formed his missing legs. What's going on? Upon seeing this, the six gods in the sky had a vague sense of foreboding. Are you ready? Ning Tian stepped on the lightning and his body flashed with lightning. He looked like the god of lightning tribulation. He looked at six deities calmly and his voice became colder and colder. Now, I'll turn into lightning and face the gods. With this world-destroying lightning tribulation, I declare that this battle that has no suspense is now over. Ning Tian raised one hand above his head. A storm surged and lightning energy began to gather in his hand. Just as he said, he would turn into millions of lightning bolts and face the gods. Boom. Rumble. Ancestral Master is awesome. F***CK. I knew it. Ancestral Master is invincible. The invincible god of war. Patriarch is the eternal god. With the Ancestral Master here, who dares to call themselves God? If the gods insist on being gods, then the founder would be the priest. Below, when the Tianma cult members saw this scene, they instantly burst into all sorts of excited words, each of which was gold. Boom. Rumble. In the sky, a storm had already appeared. Millions of lightning bolts had already pierced through the dark clouds, smashing down towards the nightmare demon god and the rest. Every bolt of lightning was dozens of times larger than an ordinary bolt of lightning, not to mention its power. What's going on? It's clearly that brat's tribulation. Why is the lightning striking us? Strange Elder Black Wind's face instantly turned ugly. Although I don't know what's going on, but run. If we don't run, I'm afraid we'll be turned into ashes by the lightning. That's a million bolts of ancient divine lightning. It's not something we can stop. The nightmare demon god muttered before his figure shot out. From the looks of it, he actually wanted to escape. Seeing this, the other five gods hurriedly moved as well. At this moment, they could only run. The founder's lightning had directly frightened the six ancient sovereigns, causing them to break into a run. Trying to run? Did I allow you to run? Ning Tian's indifferent voice sounded. Lightning flashed all over his body, erupting with an endless amount of power. There was also a bloody mist around him. It was extremely terrifying, causing one to tremble with fear upon seeing it, only to see. After saying this, he raised his hand and clenched it gently. Boom. In an instant, a terrifying power erupted in the surrounding space. With a loud boom, the entire space seemed to have been locked. No matter how the nightmare demon god and the rest struggled, the space was indifferent to them. It was as though the six ancient gods were trapped within it. As I said, it's my turn to perform now. You, just stay here and watch. After his voice faded, the law of death appeared in Ning Tian's hand. In an instant, millions of bolts of lightning in the sky were imbued with the terrifying law of death. The power of faith that had been accumulated for a long time was also released by Ning Tian at this moment. Since the law of death could envelop the lightning tribulation, what about the power of faith? Perhaps it could do the same? The lightning tribulation that had been amplified by dozens of times, in addition to the law of death and the power of faith, gathered in the sky at this moment. Moreover, one should not forget that Ning Tian's strength had been amplified by 2,000%. The amplification, was all he had. Ning Tian could have released the lightning tribulation long ago. However, one should not forget that Ning Tian had already reached his limit when he broke through 5 lightning tribulations in one go. It was not his limit, but the lightning tribulation's limit. Therefore, he could break through 5 lightning tribulations in one go. However, even if the lightning tribulation was amplified by dozens of times, it would not be able to kill the 6 ancient sovereigns. The lightning tribulation was the move that could cause fatal damage to the 6 ancient sovereigns. Once it was wasted, there would be no more chances left. Therefore, he chose to give up on the law of life and allow himself to be severely injured. Even if he had to risk his life, he had to fully activate the power of near death to increase his strength to a terrifying level of 2,000%. Only then would his lightning tribulation be able to destroy the world. This move could be said to kill 1,000 enemies at the expense of 800 of his own. However, for Ning Tian, who had the law of life, as long as he did not die, he would be fine. You might gain a little, but the founder would never lose. From the moment the 6 ancient sovereigns attacked Ning Tian, everything was under his control. Boom. Boom boom. At this moment, in the sky, millions of lightning tribulations fell continuously and smashed toward this space. At this moment, the 6 ancient sovereigns, who had been extremely arrogant, could no longer laugh. Looking at the millions of lightning tribulations, their scalps went numb. They could only brace themselves and forcibly take on the destructive lightning tribulations. It was just as Ning Tian had said. At this moment, the millions of lightning tribulations that would destroy the world would be the final judgment. The end of everything. Boom, boom. The lightning tribulations continued for several hours. During these several hours, Ning Tian used the power of space to grab the other ancient gods from the ancient god cloud atlas and threw them into the sea of lightning as if they were trash. Ah! Ah! Screams of agony rang out. If the ancient sovereigns could hold on for a while longer, these ancient gods were like thin paper. The moment they came into contact with the lightning tribulations, they were torn apart. Seeing this scene, the surroundings fell into a deathly silence. Countless people looked at each other in dismay. The destructive lightning tribulations were like the founder's judgment on the ancient gods as they fell heavily. When the millions of lightning tribulations fell, the void was filled with a charred smell. Of the numerous figures, only one was left. That was the nightmare demon god. Chapter 717. I didn't expect you to still be alive. Ning Tian looked indifferently at the nightmare demon god who was covered in blood and was in a sorry state. At this moment, the nightmare demon god could no longer speak. He looked at Ning Tian with fear in his eyes and his body was trembling non-stop. It was as though there were more lightning tribulations landing on him. The 1,000,000 lightning tribulations had already left a huge shadow in his heart. Didn't you say earlier on how to kill with the life laws? Now, I'll kill for you to see. Ning Tian raised his hand and used the space laws to imprison the nightmare demon god on the spot. Following that, a green light appeared in his hand and a terrifying life force landed on the nightmare demon god's body. At this moment, the nightmare demon god's injuries started to improve. However, he was immobilized by the space laws and could not move at all. In this manner, it was as though Ning Tian was treating his injuries. But very soon, the nightmare demon god realized that something was amiss. As his injuries improved, the blood in his body flowed faster and faster. It was as though he had taken a tonic. The energy in his body became extremely excited, and as Ning Tian continued to use it, more and more blood flowed. Vaguely, there was a sign of his body exploding with blood. One must know that one could have a nosebleed after drinking too much tonic, not to mention Ning Tian's rich life laws. One sentence. The nightmare demon god was healed to death. This milk might be poisonous. No. This god does not want to be the first ancient god to be killed by the life laws. The nightmare demon god's expression changed and his eyes were filled with fear. If he were to die, Wouldn't that be too shameful? No, you weren't killed by the life loss. You were healed to death. Ning Tian's lips curled into a smile. At this moment, his face was also very pale. After that, no. A tragic cry was heard. Instantly, the nightmare demon god's body was filled with a huge amount of life force. Veins popped out all over his body, and his blood was about to burst out of his body. At this moment, his expression was also getting uglier. Bang. There was an explosion. The nightmare demon god's blood vessels exploded, turning him into a bloody man. He had too much life force and died. Around them, there was a deathly silence. At this moment, there was only one person standing alone in the sky. Upon seeing this scene, the surrounding forces didn't even dare to breathe loudly. This was because they knew in their hearts that after this battle, the Tianma cult's patriarch had already ascended to godhood. He had actually done it. He had single-handedly killed 6 ancient gods. Everyone in the sky. Ning Tian was covered in blood, and the lightning had already dissipated. His legs were suspended in the air as a green glow enveloped him. He turned around and looked at everyone from the Tianma cult. His face was pale, and the corners of his mouth lifted into a forced smile. Fortunately, I did not disappoint you. I did it. At this moment, all eyes were on him. Their hearts were filled with shock and awe. At this moment, he was a god, patriarch. The Tianma cult disciples were extremely excited, and their eyes were brimming with tears. But suddenly, in the sky, Ning Tian actually staggered and was about to fall from the sky. However, at this moment, 2 fragrant winds blew over and hugged him. Husband. There was a faint sobbing sound in the 2 women's voices. I'm fine. Wife, I did it. I protected you. Ning Tian fell into Luo Wuqing's arms. He looked at Luo Wuqing and Su Yueyao and squeezed out a smile on his pale face. Yes, you did it. Husband, you did it. The 2 women nodded heavily. Looking at Ning Tian's appearance, their hearts ached even more. When they came back to their senses, they found that their eyes were already wet. Silly women, why are you crying? Ning Tian reluctantly reached out and wiped the tears from the corners of the 2 women's eyes. Don't cry. Your man is the strongest. Yes, yes. The 2 women hugged him tightly, and their hearts ached. You shocked everyone in Tianma cult. You shocked Luo Wuqing. You shocked Su Yueyao. You've shocked the experts of many forces. Unknown tree, welcome qualitative change. In his mind, the system's voice sounded. Boom. At this moment, before Ning Tian could react, a black light flickered in his dantian. Then, his body's aura suddenly shook, and a terrifying golden light enveloped the 3 of them. Everyone's eyes were blinded by the golden light. Ancestral Master? Empress? Holy Master? Seeing this sudden scene, many people's expressions changed. It had just ended. What was going on? Why was there another change? Swish. At this moment, everyone seemed to hear the wind blowing the leaves. They saw, in the sky, the dazzling golden light enveloped the 3 of them. The light kept flickering and vaguely formed the shape of a huge tree. The golden light lasted for dozens of minutes. When the golden light dissipated, when everyone looked again, their expressions changed greatly. Ning Tian and the other 2 were nowhere to be seen at the spot where the light had dissipated. Instead, a towering tree appeared before everyone's eyes. What is this? At this moment, everyone was horrified. However, no one noticed that when the giant tree appeared, a black-robed figure appeared in the distant void. His body kept flickering as if he would disappear at any time. He looked at the giant heavenly hand indifferently and said, Brother Yi, don't be so stupid. The unknown will become known. This is the whole world. 6th update. Oh my God, I've been writing from morning till night. Oh right, the 2 maids have already been sketched. It's very suitable to be your phone's wallpaper. If you're interested, you can follow the official WeChat account, Lu Jiang. I'll send you a notification as soon as it's out. Also, If you're interested in new books, you can follow this official account. Chapter 718. At that moment, in the Sky Demon territory, a gigantic shadow appeared. An ancient tree that rose from the ground and seemed to connect to the heavens appeared in everyone's sight. At that moment, everyone's expression was filled with shock. Even the gigantic flame-sealing Lion King seemed much smaller next to this ancient tree. It exuded a sacred aura that prevented anyone from approaching it. Ancestral Master, and the Empress and the Holy Master, are they all in this ancient tree? A look of horror flashed through the Grand Elder's eyes. Behind him, everyone in the Tianma cult looked at each other. Looking at this ancient tree, their hearts were filled with deep reverence. All of this happened too suddenly, so much so that they had no idea what had happened. No matter what happened, no one is allowed to approach this ancient tree. We will wait for the Ancestral Master and the others to return. At that moment, everyone in the Tianma cult looked up at the ancient tree. Their expressions were solemn, and their eyes were filled with anticipation. Outside the Heavenly Devil region, the various experts from the God realm also quietly left with shock. Because, after today, the Tianma cult would completely appear in the eyes of the gods of the God realm. The name of the Tianma cult's ancestral master would shake the God realm and shock the gods. He had single-handedly killed 6 gods. He had become a god. At that moment, in this ancient tree, the entire space was dark. Vaguely, one could see a hazy golden light appearing in the darkness. When this hazy golden light landed on the ground, it was as if the entire space was filled with darkness. Boom! In an instant, the entire world was lit up. They saw their surroundings were empty. Only an ancient tree that was hundreds of meters tall stood in the center. This ancient tree had many branches, and each branch was filled with withered branches and withered leaves. They were all different, but the only thing in common, it was a ball of black light at the end of the branch. It was a ball of desolate black light. Countless branches were covered in black light. It looked very strange, and vaguely, a voice seemed to come from that black light. Fail, fail, fail again. How many times have I failed? It was a sigh. It was filled with a sense of powerlessness. There was even a trace of deep despair. But at this moment, on the ancient tree, a branch with a new bud quietly grew, embellished with a faint golden light. The golden light was so dazzling in the endless darkness. Even the endless darkness could not devour the rising golden light. At this moment, the hazy golden light that illuminated the entire world had already landed in front of the ancient tree. When the golden light slowly dissipated, 3 figures emerged from the dissipating golden light. They were Ning Tian and the other 2. At this moment, the injuries on Ning Tian's body had completely disappeared. The legs that he had lost had also regrown. A faint golden light appeared on the bodies of the 3 of them. This is where? Luo Wuqing and Sui Weiyao slowly opened their eyes and looked around at the emptiness around them. Then, they looked at the ancient tree behind them and couldn't help but reveal a puzzled expression. Here, it should be inside the unknown tree. By the side, Ning Tian's voice sounded. Husband, are you okay? Hearing Ning Tian's voice, the 2 women were overjoyed. A trace of worry flashed in their beautiful eyes as they asked in unison. I'm fine. With the law of life, I can't die even if I want to. Ning Tian shook his head and moved his body, indicating that the 2 women didn't need to worry too much. Phew! Hearing this, the 2 women breathed a sigh of relief. Then, looking at the strange ancient tree, they couldn't help but ask, the unknown tree, what is that? Do you remember the sapling we obtained in the heavenly spirit region before the ancient road to godhood? That thing is the current unknown tree. After so many years, it has also grown to such a level. And now, we should be inside the unknown tree. Ning Tian explained to the 2 women. Is it the sapling that drilled into your body in the heavenly spirit region? Sui Weiyao frowned slightly and muttered. After being reminded by Ning Tian, they also remembered. Yes. Ning Tian nodded slightly. Then why did the unknown tree have such a change? Moreover, Why would we be dragged into this? Luo Wuqing frowned slightly and murmured, at the side. Ning Tian was silent. Naturally, he knew that this should be a mutation of the unknown tree. However, he did not tell the two women in detail. That was because he had heard that strange voice again. It was saying fail, fail. It continued for a very long time. What exactly? Who failed? What failed? What was the reason for the failure? All kinds of doubts lingered in Ning Tian's mind, and he also felt that a memory hidden in the depths of his mind had been opened. Could it be, all of this has something to do with me? When this thought came to his mind, even Ning Tian was shocked. This was simply too crazy. Even he found it hard to accept, let alone tell the two women. He didn't want the two women to worry. Honey, don't think too much. He looked at Luo Wuqing and said seriously, now that the unknown tree has mutated, it might be an opportunity for us. We should seize this opportunity. Opportunity? How? Hearing Ning Tian's words, the two women were stunned and looked at Ning Tian. Of course, Ning Tian chuckled softly and quietly approached the two women. Then, he wrapped his arms around their slender waists as a mischievous smile appeared on his face. Of course, that's how I should handle it. It would be a pity if we don't cultivate in this place. Husband, you. Feeling that a bad guy was up to no good, the two women couldn't help but roll their eyes at him. Your body is already like this, and you still have the mood. Oh? You mean, I can't? Haha, Wuqing is miserable. Hee. Yueyao, you can't escape either. Under the ancient tree, the three of them began to cultivate seriously. The ancient tree was decorated with dazzling lights, vaguely forming a ball of energy that enveloped the three of them. The ball of energy slowly rose into the air and stopped at the center of the ancient tree. In addition to the sound of music, there was also a huge amount of energy circulating. In the blink of an eye, half a year had passed in the God realm. In this half a year, all the forces in the God realm learned of the existence of the Tianma cult and the existence of the Tianma cult's ancestral master. The experts in the God realm didn't expect that the Tianma cult's ancestral master and the Celestial Palace's ancestral master were the same person. Moreover, he had single-handedly killed 6 ancient gods of ancient God Yun II. This battle made everyone in the God realm aware of the strength of the Tianma cult's ancestral master. Chapter 719. Ever since the failure of that attack, the ancient God Yun II seemed to have slipped back into the darkness once more. There was no more movement from him, which made the heavenly demon cult heave a long sigh of relief. After all, the Patriarch, Empress, and Holy Master were still in the ancient tree. If the ancient God Yun II attacked again, no one would be able to stop him. The ancient God Yun II probably knew this as well, so he didn't attack again. After all, the ancient God Yun II's target had never been the Tianma cult, but the Buddha Demon Pagoda and the heart of the 3 clans in Ning Tian's hands. Since Ning Tian had been swallowed by the ancient tree, they had no choice but to stop. The ancient tree in the Sky Demon region had attracted the attention of many experts. However, the Tianma cult had already sealed off the ancient tree and forbade anyone from approaching it. Due to the Tianma cult's current strength, many experts obeyed. However, there were also some who wanted to sneak closer. There was no doubt that when these experts approached, the ancient god pagoda trembled and their spiritual energy dissipated instantly. They couldn't get close at all. This ancient tree was also called the Strange Tree by the people of the God region. It's been half a year. When will the Patriarch and the others come out? Inside the heavenly demon cult, Zhu Yuanbao sighed and frowned as he looked at the towering ancient tree on the ground. The Patriarch and the others had been inside the ancient tree for half a year. During this time, no one knew if the 3 of them were dead or alive. Because of this, no one dared to do anything to the ancient tree. They could only wait like this. The only thing they could do was wait. Roar. Beside him, the flame-sealing Lion King roared. Master Lion's master would definitely be fine. If only the 9 Supremes of the Heavenly Palace were here. Unfortunately, half a year has passed, and there's still no news of them. If they were here, they might have a way to save the Patriarch. The Void God Emperor sighed as well. The three fanatical fans of the Patriarch could only look at the ancient tree and sigh. The Sky Region, a land of yellow sand stained with blood. The 10 figures were in a somewhat miserable state. The pitch-black corpses in front of them were slowly dissipating. The enormous ceiling array above their heads was still slowly operating. However, the seal was not destroyed, but the thing inside had strangely escaped. How did these faux beasts come out? Moreover, there are so many of them. Yuio wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, and a trace of deep seriousness flashed through his eyes. I don't know. These faux beasts are much stronger than before. Even with our heavenly divine energy, it's difficult to suppress them. When Qing shook her head, looking like she was dripping with sweat, it was obvious that the 9 Supremes of the Heavenly Palace had gone through a great battle, which was why they were so exhausted. The corpses in front of them were all void beasts. Furthermore, these faux beasts were much larger and stronger than the faux beasts from before. Void Beast Riot. Even though the seal is still intact, it doesn't seem to be of much use anymore. It seems like the dark turmoil is coming again. I can't stop it anymore. In front of everyone, Yi Shuang looked around. Her long, shapely eyebrows were tightly knitted together, and she sighed. The only thing that could make the Heavenly Palace's eldest senior sister have such a reaction was probably the dark turmoil. Dark turmoil? Hearing Yi Shuang's words, Wen Qing and the others' expressions were incomparably grave. It's a pity. In this dark turmoil, we won't be able to fight together with Junior Brother. We only hope that Junior Brother can bring our portion of heavenly divine energy to defeat that strange darkness. Peihu sighed. Hearing this, the other 9 Supremes of the Heavenly Palace fell silent. Because before the dark turmoil arrived in the profound sky continent, they still had a battle. A battle that was necessary. Right now, their individual heavenly divine energy was no longer enough to suppress the faux beasts. Only by gathering all 10 portions of heavenly divine energy would there be hope. The heavenly divine body is the executor of suppressing the dark turmoil. All of you should be aware of it, right? Just when everyone was silent, an old voice sounded. A white-haired old man holding a folding fan was looking helplessly at the 9 Supremes of the Heavenly Palace. And he was the master of the 9 Supremes of the Heavenly Palace. He was also the one who appeared in the Earth Spirit world and drank with the Lord of Earth Spirit. Got it. Yi Shuang nodded slightly, then looked at the white-haired old man with a serious expression. I just want to know, is this method really effective? Maybe. However, the white-haired old man did not give a definite answer. He just waved the folding fan in his hand and sighed deeply. This is just an attempt by him. It depends on whether you are willing to use your lives to believe in his attempt. As soon as this was said, the 9 Supremes of the Heavenly Palace fell silent. Using their lives to choose to believe in a person's attempt was simply a crazy idea. If it failed, then they would have died in vain. But, come on. Yi Shuang just nodded slightly. Wen Qing and the others also showed a carefree smile on their faces. We have always believed in him. From the moment we met him, we chose to believe in him. It's just that, it's a little unbelievable that he turned the tide. But if he didn't turn the tide, if he didn't try so hard, would he still be him? Wen Qing hugged the pipa and showed a gentle smile as she looked at the others. Ha ha. That's right, that guy has always been like this. He has been like this since he first came to the Heavenly Palace. Peihu laughed. Let's deal with it as soon as possible. I believe that the other 3 sealed places will also experience the same situation. However, the most serious problem should be the seal under the Heavenly Palace. After all, the thing sealed here is not an ordinary thing, Yi Shuang murmured. After we solve this problem, we will make a trip to the Sky Demon region. We haven't even gone to congratulate Junior Brother's Tim Occult on its reappearance in the domain of the gods. Haha, when the time comes, we will prepare a big gift for him. The 9 Supremes of the Heavenly Palace chuckled, then circulated their spirit energy again and looked ahead. And ahead, in the darkness, several huge figures slowly emerged. The white-haired old man looked at the darkness, frowned, and sighed. Darkness is coming, the Sky Demon region. 1 year later, the entire domain of the gods. It had been restored to its original state. As for the ancient tree, there was still no change. Everyone from the heavenly demon cult was waiting for that familiar figure to appear again. At this moment, in the space of the ancient tree, a ball of energy containing a strong aura was still at the center of the 100-meter-tall ancient tree, and 3 figures could be vaguely seen inside. The 3 of them were very quiet, as if they were in a deep sleep. At this moment, the 3 of them were completely naked. Strong energy flowed through their bodies, and their auras were rising and recovering. Chapter 720. Several minutes later. Kacha, kacha, kacha. Faint cracking sounds could be heard in the space of the ancient tree. One could see. The cluster of energy that enveloped the 3 of them fell off piece by piece at this moment. Like an eggshell, it gave birth to a new life. The auras of the 3 of them also rose to an unprecedented level at this moment. The energy light fell off and slowly descended to the bottom of the tree. When the energy light completely dissipated, the 3 of them were lying naked under the ancient tree. 2 beautiful bodies that were as white as jade were lying beside Ning Tian. At this moment, the 3 of them had their eyes closed. No one knew how long they had been sleeping like this. Suddenly, in Ning Tian's mind, the system's voice could be heard. The unknown tree has completed its transformation. The unknown has become the known. Just like the entire world, the unknown tree has turned into the known tree. This is the world tree. The host has mastered the world tree. The unknown became the known, the world tree. In a deep sleep, Ning Tian seemed to have heard these voices. He tried hard to open his eyes. In front of him was a lush, ancient tree that swayed with the wind. He could even see the leaves swaying. The ancient tree seemed to have changed as well. The many branches of the ancient tree that were originally dotted with darkness had all disappeared, and the only golden light was becoming more and more dazzling. Hiss! What is that? Ning Tian held his swollen head and muttered. Then, as if he had thought of something, he quickly looked to his side. When he saw the 2 naked women beside him, he could not help but heave a sigh of relief. Then, he quickly took out his clothes to cover the beautiful scenery. If I remember correctly, after we had been cultivating for a month, a rich energy suddenly appeared and forced us to fall into a deep sleep. Then, how long have we been sleeping? He began to sort out his thoughts and figure out the cause and effect. That's not right. My strength has reached the chaos ancient god level? Ning Tian muttered. The rich energy coming from his body attracted his attention. At this moment, his strength had reached the level of an 8-star chaotic ancient god. If he were to reach that level of strength, then the amount of time he would need to sleep might be a bit too long. Furthermore, he was not the only one who had made a breakthrough. The 2 women beside him had also reached the primal chaos ancient god realm. From this, it could be seen that this ancient tree really contained a great opportunity. The unknown has become known. It is no longer appropriate to call it the unknown tree. Now, it's already a world tree. Ning Tian murmured. What exactly? What is going on? Ning Tian frowned. The world tree. If this thing was really the same as the world tree in his imagination, then it was equivalent to having a close relationship with the entire profound sky world. With the world tree in hand, he would have limitless possibilities. Hiss! At this moment, Ning Tian's expression was solemn as he pondered seriously. Huss! Husband? At this moment, the 2 women beside him seemed to have woken up from their deep sleep. They sat up in a daze and rubbed their sleepy eyes. Due to their large movements, the clothes that Ning Tian had placed on them fell off. That beautiful scenery really made Ning Tian never tired of looking at it. Although the 2 women realized it, they did not try to hide it. After all, they were an old married couple. Whether it was what they should or should not have seen, they had seen it all. You are awake. We are still in the ancient tree. Ning Tian handed over the two women's clothes and put on his own clothes before explaining slowly. Still in the ancient god realm, after the two women put on their clothes, they frowned slightly after hearing Ning Tian's words. How long had they been asleep? Feel your strength. Although I don't know what happened, we should have absorbed all the opportunities. Ning Tian stood up and stretched his back in satisfaction. He looked at the two women with a smile. Oh. Hearing Ning Tian's words, the two women quickly sensed their strength out of curiosity. We have actually reached the 5-star chaotic ancient god realm. We have advanced by a whole level. Luo Wuqing's beautiful eyes flashed with astonishment as she cried out. She did not expect to improve so much while she was in deep sleep. I have also advanced to the 5-star chaotic ancient god realm. Su Yueyao covered her mouth with a look of disbelief. If there is such an advancement, what about the lightning tribulation? Shouldn't the ancient gods undergo the lightning tribulation to increase their strength? The two women felt that it was inconceivable for them to have such an advancement. After that, they were deeply puzzled. If they had advanced by one level, they would have to undergo the ancient god lightning at least 10 times. But how could they undergo the lightning tribulation when they were asleep? When we were asleep, the lightning tribulation should have come, but it was blocked by the ancient tree. Ning Tian chuckled. He already had a guess. He looked at the two women and explained. It should be known that they were in the world tree. In terms of level, the world tree was higher than the lightning tribulation. Naturally, it could block the ancient god lightning tribulation that the three of them had to undergo. The ancient tree. It blocked the lightning tribulation? Hearing this, the two women could not help but be stunned. Yes. You will know in the future. Ning Tian chuckled and kept them in suspense. It would be difficult for him to explain the world tree to the two women in a short time, so he might as well not explain it. Anyway, there should be no harm in it. Let's go. Let's leave this place first. We have been asleep for who knows how long. Everyone in the Tianma cult will be worried. Ning Tian said to the two women. He should be in control of the world tree now. He should also know the way out. Yes. Hearing Ning Tian's words, the two women did not object. It might not be a good idea to stay here forever. It was better to leave first and slowly study this strange ancient tree in the future, as well as why their strength had increased. Hee. Then, husband, let's go. Su Yueyao followed by Ning Tian's side. On the other side, Luo Wuqing's beautiful eyes glanced at the ancient tree again. Her white and tender hand subconsciously stroked what seemed to be a slight bulge in her lower abdomen. Her willowy eyebrows slightly furrowed. Wife. While she was in a daze, Ning Tian looked at her in confusion. It's okay. I'm coming. Luo Wuqing shook her head and hurriedly followed. Then, let's go. Ning Tian chuckled and raised his hand slightly. The entire space of the ancient tree was under his control. Soon, a portal to the outside world appeared in front of the three of them. The outside world. Inside the sky demon realm, every heavenly demon cult disciple turned towards the ancient tree. It had been an entire year since their patriarch, and the other two had disappeared. Crack, crack, crack. At this moment, a shattering sound rang out, immediately attracting the attention of everyone in the Tianma cult. Chapter 721. Inside the Tianma cult in the Tianma region. Crack. Kacha. Kacha. Kacha sounds continued to ring out, instantly attracting the attention of everyone in the heavenly demon cult. At this moment, everyone's gazes were directed towards the ancient tree. Their breathing began to quicken as their eyes were filled with anticipation. This, after a year had passed, the ancient tree finally showed some signs of activity. Is it the patriarch and the others? It must be the patriarch and the others. It's been a year. It's been a whole year. The patriarch and the others are finally coming out. They're still alive. At this moment, everyone in the Tianma cult was extremely excited. Their eyes fell on the ancient tree, and they began to look forward to it. Under everyone's gazes, the ancient tree began to tremble continuously. Countless withered leaves fell to the ground, and a huge amount of energy began to condense in the ancient tree. At the center of the tree, the space faintly fluctuated. This is the law of space. It's the patriarch. I can't be wrong. Ancestor Fengtian's eyes flashed as he hurriedly said. With his words, everyone in the Tianma cult was filled with anticipation. Their eyes fell on the center of the ancient tree. Boom, boom. The ancient tree began to sway. Then, after a wave of spatial fluctuations, 3 figures appeared in everyone's sight. It's the patriarch. The patriarch is back. At this moment, everyone in the Tianma cult cried out in surprise. Everyone, we're back. Ning Tian held the 2 women's hands and stepped into the air. He looked at everyone in the Tianma cult with a smile. Welcome, patriarch. Welcome, patriarch. Below, seeing Ning Tian and the other 2, all the disciples in the Tianma cult were extremely excited. It had been a whole year since the patriarch and the others disappeared before everyone's eyes. During this year, they had lived in fear. But now, the patriarch and the others had finally appeared. The disciples of the Tianma cult could finally breathe a sigh of relief. Ning Tian, welcome back. Where have you been? Dao God Reincarnation moved and arrived beside Ning Tian and the other 2. He looked at Ning Tian and asked with a frown. That is a secret. Ning Tian smiled mysteriously, then turned around and looked at the ancient tree in front of him. This should not be the true appearance of the world tree, but an illusion formed by its power. Old man Dao, how long have I been gone? A whole year. Dao God Reincarnation said. 1 year? Ning Tian couldn't help but frown when he heard this. He originally thought that it would be a few months at most, but he never imagined that an entire year had passed. Then within this year, has there been any movement from the cloud portrait of the ancient god? He asked again. No. Ever since the battle that day, the ancient god Cloud Atlas seemed to have completely hidden in the darkness, without any movement. Dao God Reincarnation shook his head. Their target is the thing in my hand, not the Tianma cult. My disappearance has caused them to be quiet, so it's normal. Ning Tian wasn't too surprised to hear this. After all, the cloud portrait's target had always been the Buddha demon pagoda and the heart of the 3 clans in his hands, not the Tianma cult. Then, has anyone approached this ancient tree in this year? No. We have set up a formation barrier in the Sky Demon region. It's very difficult for ordinary experts to approach this formation barrier. Moreover, this ancient tree is very strange. No matter who it is, it's difficult for anyone to approach it. Dao God Reincarnation shook his head. Even at this moment, he was still very far away from the ancient tree. No one can approach it. Ning Tian narrowed his eyes. It seemed that only those who controlled the world tree or those who were recognized by it could approach it. Otherwise, even if the ancient god sovereign came, it would be difficult for him to approach the world tree. Let's put this thing away first. Ning Tian murmured. Then, under everyone's gaze, he raised his hand and gently clenched it toward the ancient tree. This clench seemed to grasp the entire world. The enormous ancient tree turned into a ball of light. Then, it kept shrinking until it was only the size of a palm. It turned into a small tree and fell into Ning Tian's palm. This ancient tree, it's indeed strange. Seeing this scene, the Tianma cult's members had grave expressions. However, no matter how strange this ancient tree was, it couldn't escape from the ancestral master's palm. This was the ancestral master. Let's go. This is not the place to talk about this. Let's return to the Sky Demon Palace first. Then, we'll slowly tell them what happened this year. Ning Tian flipped his hand and put the shining small tree into the Dao soil in his dantian. Now, it was no longer the unknown tree. It was the world tree. Whether it was its form or aura, it had undergone a tremendous change. Yes, ancestral master. The surrounding people responded. The group headed toward the Sky Demon Palace. Wuqing, what's wrong? In the sky, Sui Weiyao looked at Luo Wuqing, who was still in a daze. She frowned and couldn't help but lean over. No, it's nothing. I just wanted to confirm something. Luo Wuqing shook his head. A faint blush appeared on his cold face. confirm something? Su Yueyao was stunned. Then, her pair of beautiful eyes suspiciously fell on Luo Wuqing's body. She looked him up and down. Then, she leaned over and sniffed him. After a while, her beautiful eyes lit up and she covered her mouth in disbelief. Wuqing, you're not pregnant, are you? Sure. Upon hearing Su Yueyao's words, even the ice-cold empress was a little flustered. Her pretty face flushed red as she hurriedly gestured for Su Yueyao to keep quiet. Then, she gently stroked her lower abdomen. I'm not too sure either. But according to the flow of spirit energy and my pulse, I'm pregnant. She shook her head and said softly. At this moment, Luo Wuqing had the panic of a new mother. But more than that, there was a kind of warmth. Her eyes were overflowing with motherly love. I didn't expect hubby to miss so many times. Instead, he got shot this time. I'm afraid even he didn't expect this. Su Yueyao covered her mouth and chuckled. Don't tell hubby about this for now. He's too busy right now. Luo Wuqing was very considerate of Ning Tian. She shook her head and said softly, Okay, then, should we follow them? Yes. In the Sky Demon Palace. Is this everything that happened in the past year? Ning Tian sat in the center of the palace and looked at Fatty Chin, who was reporting to him. Yes, Ancestral Master. Fatty Chin nodded. Okay, I got it. Ning Tian nodded slightly. According to Fatty Chin's report, nothing had happened in the past year. The only thing that worried Ning Tian was the news of the Heavenly Palace. Since that day, there had been no news of the 9 Supremes of the Heavenly Palace. Could it be, has the seal become so troublesome? He frowned. At this moment, 2 women walked in from outside the palace. Wife, you came at the right time. I might be going to the Sky Palace in the next few days. Ning Tian looked at the 2 women. At this moment, his mind was full of thoughts about the Sky Palace. He didn't notice Luo Wuqing's strange expression. Organize the plot and make it up tomorrow. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.